Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, my international friends, joining me as we talking about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and all sorts of good stuff. And, of course, it can't be a truly great day unless the sun shines and reveals, floating down out of the clouds like Mary Poppins, is Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing, sir?
John, you know what? Today is the day that I think they ship my Hot Toys Black Panther figure.
Ooh. I'm just curious. I got to know. I got to ask you this question.
But they've delayed the Throne of Wakanda.
Well, I'm sure it'll come. Got to ask you this question, though. Right now, how many Hot Toy figures do you have on pre-order, do you think?
$10?
You have about 10 on pre-order.
But remember, let me say that one of those Hot Toys figures is not even supposed to come out until 2021.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So,
that's one of the things that protects me from spending all my money, is that I see all these new Hot Toy figures, and it's like, oh, it won't even ship for another 8 months. I don't have that type of patience, and so I can't buy that kind of stuff. So
and I have
it saves
to
me
say,
a lot of money.
Well, yeah, I have to say that I think I'm done as far as the Marvel Hot Toys go.
Yeah,
I'm done.
You say that now.
Well, no, unless something new comes out, because I would have everything that I want.
Right, but I mean, Eternals is going to come out.
Well,
Shang-Chi's going to come out.
Barring new stuff,
right?
And I don't see that anything Spider-Man. You know what? Mysterio.
Ah, yeah, they do a Mysterio one.
But they haven't announced a Mysterio.
Well, and you know what? It's funny you mentioned Spider-Man, because we're going to be talking about Spider-Man in just a little bit. There was a new Spider-Man spot that came out showing off a whole bunch of the costumes that are going to come out in the movie. We're going to talk about some toxic behind-the-scenes drama that happened on Men in Black that the Hollywood Reporter's been talking about. Lucasfilm has hired a brand new head High Lord overseer of all live-action production movies in Disney Plus, who has only ever produced one movie that hasn't even come out in theaters yet. That and a few things more. So let's get right into our main topics today. Guys, how do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. See, you guys come up with them by going to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. When you get there, you're going to see a form. Fill it on out, hit submit with your topic or question in there, and maybe, just maybe, you might see your topic or question featured here on the John Campea Show. So with that down, let's get to our first main topic today. And our first main topic today comes to us from James Germain, who writes, "Hey John, just probably meant saw the trailer for the new Amazon series, The Boys. Wondering if you saw it. If so, what do you think?" All right, so what he is talking about is there's been a trailer up before. There's this new series on Amazon coming called The Boys with Carl Urban starring in it, which, first of all, put Carl Urban in it, you got my attention right away. It's based on a graphic novel series. And the basic gist of it is this, is that it's a world in which superheroes exist, but they're dicks. Sometimes murderously so. And The Boys is this collection of regular people who have just had enough of it, and they're going to take the superheroes to task and all that kind of stuff. Yesterday, they dropped a big old red band trailer for The Boys. Now, these aren't the boys you see in this graphic. This is the big superhero team in that world. They're the greatest superheroes in the world, known as the Seven. And apparently they are the biggest dicks of them all. So at any rate, so this red band trailer drops yesterday. And I'm just going to tell you, I watched it about 10 times. The moment my wife walked in the door, I didn't go and give her a kiss. "Hi, honey, how was your day?" No, I grabbed her by the wrist, like, "Come sit down on the couch," and I put on the trailer for The Boys. I said, "You gotta watch this." It's like, "I'm sorry, I can't stop." If you saw the trailer, you know that reference. I ate it up. Now, I was excited about this show. Just from hearing about it, hearing the concept of it, hearing the idea of it, I just liked the idea. Then I saw the first little teaser they put out a while ago. It's like, okay, this looks like it could be good. But it's when I saw this red band teaser, Rob, that I just went, sell everything and buy stocks in this show. I love what I saw in this trailer. I cannot wait. I think what did they say? It comes out in August?
Yeah.
I think it comes out in August. I cannot wait for this show. I don't know if it's going to be crap or whatever, but the marketing looks damn great. Rob, did you have a chance to see this trailer? So
I did. Now, I bought this comic when it first came out, and now I've got the Image Absolute editions of this. the comic, when they first announced this show, I was like, John, I thought to myself, John, are they ever, the comic is so over the top, it's so violent.
so graphic.
And so graphic. And I was like, are they ever, apparently they have. and I can't, like you, I'm so excited about this show. I mean, I think a lot of superhero fans perhaps might have their eyes opened a little bit when they watch this show.
Hey, I have read through the graphic novel, but it's been an awful long time. Remind me here. Didn't like the main guy in the Seven, like their Superman figure, doesn't he like kill prostitutes because he has sex with prostitutes?
Something like,
and because he's so super powered, it ends up killing them. So he has
no, dude, the violence in the comic is insane, and I mean, it looks like, you know, they're gonna, but that's part of the fun of it. But it's definitely kind of from a different era. I mean, the comic book is, I think the comic book was over a decade old.
Right. Yeah, it's been a while.
So it's going to be interesting to see how this is taken in today's climate.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're not sold by a guy holding up a superpowered baby whose eye beams explode another person's head, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I don't know how to get you excited about anything if that doesn't get you excited. I just think it looks spectacular. I can't wait to see it. The question is, guys, have you guys had a chance to watch this new Red Band trailer for the upcoming Amazon series, The Boys? If so, did you like it as much as us? Did you maybe think, this actually looks kind of dumb? I don't know. Whatever you guys thought about it, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, with that down, let's move on to main item number 2. And our second main item today gets sent in to us from Josh A., who writes, Hey, John. So I just read that the Hollywood Reporter report about the behind-the-scenes mess on Men in Black 4, particularly that the producer oversaw several rewrites before and during shooting that clashed with the vision that the director and stars signed up for. So much so that the stars hired their own writer. Not saying it would definitely have been better, but this is not the way to run a production. Am I right? Okay. For those of you who have not, well, number one, you guys have all heard that Men in Black is in theaters, and although it hit number 1 at the box office, it was a pretty measly number 1, not even cracking $30 million on its opening weekend, way below what they were expecting, what they were hoping for. The audience just didn't turn out for it. Critical ratings, last time I checked, it's sitting about a 25%, so that's not good. I didn't think the movie was a dumpster fire, but it also wasn't good. It was not a good movie. Had some redeeming qualities, not good, whatever. Now these stories are coming out that, I got to tell you what, Rob, although there is behind the scenes drama on probably just about every production and every movie, there's some degree of drama. You're talking about having hundreds, sometimes thousands of people working on something, hundreds of millions of dollars are at stake. You're going to get some drama on some level on every production. It's human nature, and sometimes creative genius comes out of conflict. So that can sometimes be good, I guess, to some level. But the stories we're hearing coming out of this Men in Black stuff is unreasonable and unforgivable that Sony let this happen. Now, you guys will know if you've been watching the show for a while, I've becoming more and more pro Sony. I think Sony's been making some good moves. They've certainly been putting out some good movies. They've been doing some course correction. They've done some really interesting personnel hires, all that kind of stuff. I'm becoming more and more pro Sony. But I'm telling you what, I'm reading this story, and all I can think about is the incompetence of not just the people involved in the drama, but the people above them who should have got involved. Now, I want to read a little bit at length here, some of the excerpts from this story, just to kind of paint the picture. So the basic idea is this. There was a script that they came up with that everybody liked for the movie. Sony liked it. F. Gary Gray, the director, liked it. The actors liked it. The story made a point to point out that, hey, you don't get Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson on board unless they like the script. That was all on board. It involved something like, at the heart of it was going to be like kind of a moral of the story of immigration things, which is perfect for a Men in Black movie, right? I mean, that's perfect for a Men in Black movie. It was going to be that. The villains were going to be a band that were kind of like the Beatles, but they merged to form one super alien bad guy, kind of like Constructicons and Transformers or something. All of it sounds great. However, the executive at Sony, and we're going to get into this here in a second in the Hollywood Reporter report, the executive at Sony who was in charge of overseeing this movie left Sony near the beginning of the production. and they never replaced him, and they never gave any more oversight to the movie, and they just left the director and the producer to fight it out amongst themselves. Let's read some of the excerpts from this Hollywood Reporter story. Again, I usually don't like to read too much from a report, but this is key stuff. So let's listen to this. Okay, so but when the Sony executive overseeing the project, Executive Vice President of Production David Beaubert, I guess that's how you pronounce his name, exited the studio in the summer of 2018 and was never replaced, a tug of war began. Director F. Gary Gray, who helmed Straight Outta Compton and The Fate of the Furious, and Walter Parkes, the veteran producer and Spielberg confidant who helped make the original Men in Black movie, clashed on the vision for the film, a source says. Now it goes on in another part to say this. Early drafts of the script were described as being edgier and more timely, tying the story to the current debate surrounding immigration. Multiple sources describe Parkes, the producer, who had final cut rights on the film, as having a heavy hand in overseeing rewrites that F. Gary Gray didn't even want. Overseeing rewrites not only during pre-production process, but during the production as they're shooting the movie. The producer stepping and says, I want to change this script, and all the kind of stuff away from what the actors wanted. It goes on later to say, two sources say that Parkes at times also stepped in on helming duties, although no Directors Guild of America rules were said to have been violated. F. Gary Gray tried to exit the production several times, but was convinced to stay by the studio, as a source says. Even color correcting was a source of contention between the director and the producer. Okay. Now, the article goes on to talk about a lot of other stuff, including the fact that at some point Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth hired their own writers to come in and rewrite their dialogue. I mean, it was because, can you imagine, look, a movie set is a mass of movement and action and chaos, and hopefully controlled chaos, but chaos and a lot of confusion. Can you imagine that you're trying to make this movie, and the day of shooting, you're on like day 14 of shooting, whatever, and the producer is sending in a courier, hey guys, here are the new pages. Like, what do you mean new pages? First of all, the director is going, what do you mean new pages? And the actors are going, what do you mean new pages? Like all this kind of stuff. Look, Rob, I've always said that, hey, bottom line is the movie belongs to the producers. The producers are in charge, all right? And a lot of times when there's producer and director conflict, you'll hear me kind of side with the producers because I think normally that's the right thing. But the thing with this situation is what movie you're making needs to be something that is established and all agreed upon before you start the movie. And if problems come along, you all work together to overcome them and do some rewrites if you need them, whatever. But once the director signs on, it's like, this is the movie we're making, we're all agreed, great. You don't then step in as a producer and start stomping all over the movie that the director agreed to make unless the director is going off in some different direction. And that doesn't seem to be the case here. That doesn't seem to be the case here. F. Gary Gray was trying to make the movie they had all agreed to make, and some over-involved, sticking his nose in where it didn't belong producer, who had already signed off on everything, stepping in and taking upon himself to get new pages rewritten, all this kind of stuff. Now, it even goes on to say in this Hollywood Reporter story, Rob, that they actually ended up making two cuts. F. Gary Gray's cuts and the producer's cut. And they say, fine, we'll each put our final cut together and we'll put it in front of our own individual audiences and we'll see who prefers it. Well, guess what? The producer had final say, so he went with his cut. So it didn't matter. And Rob, as messy as all this sounds, and I do want to get your thoughts on this mess here in a second, but as messy as all of this sounds, my big question becomes, where the hell was Sony while this mess was going on? Where the hell was Sony while people working on your movie are having massive clashes, tugs of war? We're having the whole premise of the movie being changed and rewritten. The director doesn't like it. The director threatens to leave, and the only time you step in is to convince him to stay, probably promising him another movie down the line, which I hope he gets. But the question for me is, the bottom line is like, is there some responsibility here on F. Gary Gray? Damn right. Is there a responsibility here on the producer? Damn right. But bottom line for me is, Sony at some point, being in charge and being the studio of this project, they needed to step in and referee this. They needed to step in and mediate this. Because I'll tell you what, I have been in charge of double-digit, multiple-sized teams before. And of course, whether it's at AMC or another place that I work at, there were a number of occasions when I had different people on my team at odds with each other. And that's fine. But once the individuals being at odds with each other started to affect the work, once it started to become public, or people could see what was going on, or it was causing our projects not to get done. A couple of times, there was this one time in particular that I had to bring these two people I met each of them individually, and then I had to bring them both into my office at the same time, and I'll never forget this. And I had to say to them, look, I love you both. I do. But I'm going to walk out of my office now and leave you two here. I'm going to give you up to an hour. You guys figure this out, because if you don't, even though I love you, for the good of the team, you're both gone. So work this crap out. Get on board with each other. And if you just come 75% of the way and there's 25% that you can't get figured out and you need my help to mediate it, fine, that's cool too. But get there, because this is destructive for the team, this is destructive for the product, and eventually this is going to show to the audience. Figure this out. And these two guys, and I left, I came back an hour later, and they figured it out. All I needed was a little bit of oversight and a little bit of help to nudge them along the way. And that's happened because, when you have teams of people, you're going to have conflict sometimes. It happens. But what do you do with the conflict, and where are the people in charge when it's going on? And I got to say, Rob, I'm hearing this stuff about the absentee. In the Hollywood Reporter, they called it that Sony was an absentee landlord. And then while this drama was going on, and ultimately it hurt their movie. And Sony, you may want to put the blame on the producer, and there's blame there for that. You might want to say F. Gary Gray should have done that. Maybe there's some blame there for that. But at the end of the day, this is Sony's responsibility. They should have stepped in. They should have done something about this. And as a result, their movie suffered. Anyway, that's my thought on this whole thing. Rob, you're looking at this situation. You've read the report. You've been on film sets. You know all this you've produced and directed movies. What's your response to this type of a situation?
First of all, let me say that Walter Parks and Lawrence Lasker produced War Games back in '83.
Yes, and he wrote War Games as well, if I'm not mistaken.
They are guys
and sneakers.
They've been around the business for a long time, and I don't know Walter Parks. I've never met him, but I'm sure there's a lot of pressure on him, especially as a guy aging in the industry. This is his way to get back in. But there's nothing more toxic on a movie set than dissension between the working producer and the director. We've seen it happen on Hellboy as well. These producers want to be overzealous. They think they know better. I was on the first Men in Black movie. I know these things. First of all, a movie set, everyone, for better or worse, always look to the director. The director, they want to know, is this are the cameras being set up here? Especially the actors. The actors have a relationship with the director. The actors must trust the director. If you get in the middle of the relationship that the director has with his on-set crew, meaning the DP, meaning especially his actors, you are interfering with the set, period. You don't do it. Because what you do is you create uncertainty amongst all your crew and cast. That is the single worst thing you can do on a movie set. And Walter Parks knows better. I would put place the blame squarely on Walter Parks. He was out of control. And you know what? The production suffered because of it. It's his fault, 100%, according to this article. Right. And again, to me, I get it. I think there's some there. For me, there's the old saying, it takes two to tango. I'm sure probably there are some things F. Gary Gray probably could have done differently and all that kind of stuff. Then it should be done. You know what? That's when a producer takes the director aside and says, listen, man, here's my thoughts. And you do it around no one else. You do it behind closed doors.
Yes.
You do it before or after a day shoot, or you do it at lunch. And you never, ever do it in front of people. Your actors should not know. A good producer has to provide the illusion that everything is going perfectly. Because remember, on a movie set, every second costs money.
Yeah,
literally.
Tons of money.
And you can actually calculate it based on your shoot day. You can figure out how much each shoot day costs and back into that number. Sometimes every second costs $20. Imagine if every tick of the second hand cost you $20. That producer was blowing money that the studio had, and look what happened in the film as a result.
Yeah, and where was the studio? Where was the studio when this was going on? And that's the part. See, I get it. You put the responsibility of the producer, and there's definitely blame there. To me, it goes even further up the chain.
I agree. The studio should have stepped in.
They should have stepped in. They should have said, this is our movie. This is our money. We have hundreds of people here who are relying on you two guys to make sure you get along and get this thing moving and grain. We thought we had a movie already agreed upon. Did we not? What's going on? They needed to step in and mediate. Because for all I know, maybe the producer had some really good ideas. Maybe he saw something that was going to be a problem. He was trying to fix it. Okay, I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt on that for now. But then there's a way to go about getting that addressed and done. And this type of stuff is not the way you do it. This is what turns into destructive sets. And when you have destructive sets, it's going to hurt the quality of the movie. Sometimes a movie can still turn out fine, but it's going to hurt the quality of it. And I think we saw that play out here because the way they describe this movie in this article, Rob, doesn't sound like the movie I watched. So clearly there was some significant
Absolutely.
changes done.
And you know, these are questions that should be ironed out before you get on set. Once you get on set, I mean, there's the old adage that a battle plan never survives contact with the enemy. But that shouldn't be the case when you're making a movie. And it's the most destructive thing that can happen when you have this kind of dissent on set. It's terrible.
Anyway, guys, what do you make of this whole mess with Men in Black? Do you side more with the studio? Do you side more with the director? Do you side more with the producer? What do you guys think? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, with that down, let's move on to main topic number 3. And our third main topic today comes to us from Vic Morrison, who writes, did you see that new Spider-Man spot that highlights all the different Spider-Man costumes that are being used in Spider-Man Far From Home? Doesn't it seem a bit excessive? I don't mean to be a pessimist, but it feels an awful lot like they're just doing it for toy sales instead of what's in the best interest of the movie. What do you guys think? All right, thanks a lot for the message, Vic. And for those of you who don't know what Vic is talking about, a brand new spot has come out for Spider-Man Far From Home that's coming out. And really the gist of it's a minute or less, the spot. It's a very short spot. It's introduced by Tom Holland. And basically the whole purpose of the spot is to highlight the 4 costumes that are being worn. And here's a quick look at the 4 costumes in there. Now, up here, it says original costume. And I guess that's when the movie starts. And then on the far over there, you've got the Iron Spider outfit. It says new costume and shows the Iron Spider. Then down here, you see him in the black outfit. It says newer costume, wearing the black. And then, of course, it cuts to that scene that we've seen in another trailer where he's using some sort of advanced 3D printer that Tony Stark has to make another new Spider-Man costume. And it says newest costume. And then, of course, you got that one down in the bottom corner, which looks a little bit closer more to the traditional Spider-Man outfit at that point. I'll tell you what. Here's the thing. Is this excessive simply for toy making and to make excessive revenue on the toy market and all that kind of stuff? Maybe. But at the same time, him starting in the traditional Spider-Man outfit, I think that makes sense. He's got the Iron Spider costume, so it makes sense that we see that. He gets over into Europe, and I believe they say in one of the trailers that he didn't bring his Spider-Man costume with him, so he gets provided with one. He probably figures out at some point, this one isn't working for me, and with the help of Hap, being played by Jon Favreau, he makes a new Spider-Man costume. I don't know that that's the case, Rob. What I just described, I don't know if that's actually how this works out.
Right.
But if something like that were the case, then actually, it makes narrative sense.
Sure.
If that's the case, then, because look, I think there's a case for already having the original costume and the Iron Spider costume, because those are the costumes in existence. He travels, needs different ones, and that at some point he switches to a new model. I actually don't think it seems excessive. Over a 2-hour plus movie, I think there's nothing really wrong with this, so I think it's probably going to be okay. What do you make of this?
I think it's fine. I mean, look, 2 of those costumes, as you pointed out, were one is his friendly neighborhood Spider-Man costume. Right. The other is the Iron Spider costume, which he probably uses sparingly, thinking he can't get it fixed anyway if something happens to it. He doesn't take a costume, that black costume, the all-black costume, while it's redolent of the black Spider-Man suit, it looks a little makeshift. Like maybe he threw it together using stuff he found while he was in Europe just because he needed to have something. And then, of course, this new costume, once he was recruited by Mysterio or Nick Fury or whatever the hell happens, he needed a bona fide real Spider-Man costume in order to function. And so it makes sense. I mean, I like that it's part of the story. Remember, They've already made Hot Toys of 2 of those figures.
Yep, they need more.
So, come on.
They're running out of the ones to do. Question is, guys, by the way, can you believe how close it is now? It's like 2 weeks away.
I know.
It's like 2 weeks away. I'm very excited for this movie. Cannot wait. What did you guys think about this new spot? And what do you think about the new costumes? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, let's move on now to main topic number 4. And main topic number 4 today comes to us from Sebastian Rivers, who writes, I've been a fan of the CW's Arrowverse ever since the series premiere of Arrow years ago. Just saw they announced the launch dates for the new seasons of all their shows, including Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, and Batwoman. The funny thing is that I saw they're going to air the Batwoman premiere 3 times, 3 days in a row, before the Supergirl premiere on Sunday, after the All-American premiere on Monday, and after the Flash premiere on Tuesday. Is this a good strategy or just desperation to get people to watch this show? All right, thanks a lot for the question, man. And what Sebastian is talking about specifically here is that, yes, okay, on Sunday, October 6th, we're going to have the debut and the premiere of Batwoman. It's going to be the first episode of Batwoman, and that's going to be on Sunday, October 6th, just before the Supergirl season premiere at 9 p.m. So they're trying to get the people who might watch Supergirl to also watch Batwoman. Okay, not a bad strategy. The very next day, on Monday, October 7th, they're going to air the same episode again, this time after their series All-American and their All-American series premiere. So that's going to be on at 9 p.m. on Monday. And then they're going to air it again on Tuesday, October the 8th, after the Flash. It's like, okay, guys, you all tuned in to watch the Flash? Stick around and watch the Batwoman premiere. Didn't the Batwoman already premiere like twice? Yeah, we're going to play it again. And they're going to play the Batwoman premiere again. 3 days in a row. 3 days in a row, they're going to show this Batwoman premiere on CW. All right. There's a couple of different ways you could look at it. I think there's an optimistic way and a pessimistic way. Let's approach the pessimistic way first and get that out of the way, Rob. Because I'll tell you what, I liked the Batwoman character in the CW crossover event they did this past season.
Me too.
I did not like the Batwoman trailer that they put out just recently. So I'm a little torn on that. Here's the pessimistic way of looking at this. The pessimistic way of looking at this is CW is trying to jam Wonder Woman down Batwoman down our throats. They're trying to jam it down. Saying, you don't want to watch Batwoman? Well, we're going to figure out a way to make you watch it. If you watch any of our other shows, we're going to kind of put you in a position where we're going to sneak it into you and make you watch it. And on that side, it seems a little bit desperate. It seems like they are desperate to jam this character down our throats, and they're desperate to jam this show down our throats. That's the pessimistic way of looking at it, and there might be truth to that. There is, however, an optimistic way of looking at it as well. The optimistic way of looking at it is this, is that maybe CW is sitting back and go, you know what, we really believe in this show. And we believe if we can get an audience to just sample it, we believe they'll like it. And so let's give it every opportunity to succeed. Let's pair it with Supergirl on the one night. Then we'll pair it with with All-American on the second night. And then we'll pair it with the Flash on the third night. So at the end of the day, we can't look in the mirror and say, well, we didn't give it our best shot. Clearly, we gave it our best shot. We believe in this show. We know that the public, because let's face it, a lot of us are very pessimistic about this show, me included. The public is pessimistic. We believe, though, in this show, and we believe if they give it a chance, they're going to like it. So I think there's two kind of ways to look at it, the pessimistic side, the optimistic side. Rob, you're seeing this play out right now. Is there a third way to look at this? And if not, which of those two sides do you find yourself falling on?
Well, I'm a glasses half full kind of guy. And I really want this show to succeed. And I think, look, they wouldn't be putting it on 3 times if it wasn't good. I mean, I think that they know it's good. I think they're happy with it, but they want to make sure that the audience knows that it's good. So they're showing it 3 times. If it was a train wreck, somebody would
try
know.
To hide it.
You can't do that by showing a train wreck 3 separate times, unless you're a junkie for those things and you're watching a YouTube video. I think they're going to be fighting the fact that she's a gay superheroine, and we haven't seen that before. And there's
at least not as the lead character.
Not as the lead character.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of press, and they're going to try and show you that, look, you know what? This show is a great show regardless of your politics, regardless of what you believe in. This is a kick-ass superhero show, and they want to give it the launch it deserves.
You know what?
That's the way I see it.
I think I'm going to lean towards the optimistic side on this as well, because look, I doubted Flash before it came out, and then I ended up really liking it. I doubted Black Lightning before it came out, and then it came out, and I really enjoy it. Now, I don't like Supergirl, fine, but I think I'm going to side with you on this one, Rob. I think I'm going to take an optimistic approach and say, you know what, maybe them putting it on 3 nights in a row shows confidence and a belief that if we just get people to try it, we think they're going to like it. Maybe it'll be like the crossover, which I thought was great, or maybe it'll be like the trailer, which I thought was terrible, but we'll find out soon enough, I suppose. Okay, guys, I want to know, what do you guys think? Where do you come down on this? With this Batwoman thing, are you feeling a little bit more optimistic about it? Are you feeling more pessimistic about it? Let me know your thoughts. Go on, jump down in the comment section below and leave your thoughts for everybody. All right, with that down, let's move on to the 5th and final main topic for the day. And the 5th and final issue today comes to us from Daniel R., who writes, "Greetings, John. Big Star Wars fan all my life, but I just read something on The Hollywood Reporter that has me shaking my head. Lucasfilm has hired a woman to be the head and overseer of all live action production, including all movies and Disney Plus TV shows. Here's the catch. She's never been a top-line producer on any film until Star Wars Episode 9. She's got 3 or 4 smaller associate and co-credits, but that's it. Now she's heading Lucasfilm. Isn't this Simon Kinberg on X-Men all over again? Should we be worried?" All right, thanks a lot for the message, Daniel. And for those of you who don't know what Daniel is talking about, what came out is that Lucasfilm has created a brand new senior vice president position at Lucasfilm, whose job it is to basically take over a lot of the responsibilities that was Kathleen Kennedy's, and giving direct direction and oversight and supervision to all live action production. That includes Star Wars movies, the anthology movies that are coming, all the series are going to be on Disney Plus, and all that kind of stuff. This is now the head honcho for all these types of things. In essence, she's kind of become the Kevin Feige. Even though Kevin Feige's role is technically president, hers is senior vice president, but she's taken over a lot of these roles. Now, the person who is given this role, and here's where some of the iffiness comes in here. The person who's taken over this role is a woman by the name of Michelle Rejwan, and I'm sure I'm mispronouncing her last name, but I'm sure we'll learn it in the days to come. But Michelle Rejwan. Who is Michelle Rejwan? Well, here's a quick look at her resume. From 2005 to 2011, she was an assistant. She was a casting assistant to start first, and then for almost 6 years, she was J.J. Abrams' personal assistant. She was the assistant to Mr. J.J. Abrams, is the way she's credited on that. Now, by the way, I don't put that in there as any kind of a derogatory thing about being an assistant. I think that's the right way to get into the business. You start as somebody's assistant, you learn, you grow in your development. I think that's great. So there's that. Then in 2011, J.J. Abrams, he takes this person who's been his assistant for a bunch of years, gives her a shot and gives her an associate producer credit and some responsibilities on his film Super 8. Film I didn't really love, but whatever, there it is. She was then an associate or co-producer on Star Trek Into Darkness, also J.J. Abrams, and then also in 2015 on Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, also J.J. Abrams. Now, it's important to point out here, Rob, and I want you to speak to, before we go into the last part of her resume here, I want to point out here there's something that I think a lot of film fans will confuse. Because in the title, associate producer, co-producer, and producer, the word producer is in all of them. These are vastly different jobs and vastly different sets of responsibilities. One is very much not like the other in many ways, but I think a lot of people just say, oh, associate producer, so that means she's a producer. I've seen, Rob, you and I have both seen a lot of film productions where they basically hand out associate producer credits like Halloween candy. It's like, oh, you arranged those trucks for us. Associate producer credit for you. And now the producer, we've talked about this too, Rob, the producer credits in Hollywood are sometimes very nebulous things, right? Because sometimes a guy makes a phone call, you get a co-producer credit. And sometimes somebody works their ass off for 2 years on making a movie happen. But the producer is the buck stops here person on most of these movies. How would you describe, as somebody who's got a lot more experience in this than doofus like me, how would you describe like a lot of the fundamental differences between like the co and associate and the producer or the executive producer?
Well, the associate producer credit is often given away by people who give money or provide money or hookups or something like that. But the associate producer is also given to people exactly like her, who was a director's assistant for 6 years, which means she worked on TV shows, she worked on the movies he worked on, including like Mission Impossible 3. When she gets bumped up to an associate producer credit, that means she's a working stiff. She's on that set every day. She's working hand in hand with the director because it's J.J. Abrams, and she worked on 3 gigantic movies. I would say that over the 15 years from the time she went from being a casting assistant to now, she's had a decade and a half trajectory where she has worked on studio filmmaking at the highest level, on movies that are logistically difficult, and she's probably very well liked. She didn't work for J.J. Abrams for 6 years if she wasn't well liked. She probably interfaced with everybody at her company, and what people don't understand is, first of all, women producers like this are some of the best in Hollywood because they have worked at the highest levels. They've worked, I mean, when you start working for a director, you're not just getting him coffee. You basically end up running his entire production schedule. And that's what she's done. And then she stayed with him. She was bumped up she was his assistant for 6 years, according to what you just printed. Yeah. Then she went on to be associate producer on Into Darkness and Super 8 and Force Awakens. You can't get any bigger than that. And I think she's probably earned her title. She's well liked. She certainly knows how to move through the executive ranks and deal with people. When you're dealing with a director, that means you deal with everybody on a film production. Everyone. So I don't think there's probably any better training anybody could have had to be in her position that she's received now.
Well, now here's the thing, though. All this experience from casting assistant to J.J. Abrams, working as an associate or co-producer on Super 8, Star Trek, Star Wars, The Force Awakens. What I believe that then earned her
100%,
was the actual full title producer credit to actually be the producer of Star Wars Episode 8, The Rise of Skywalker.
9.
Sorry, Star Wars Episode 9.
Yeah.
A movie that has not come out yet. But she earned it. She got the experience to earn getting that shot at being the actual producer or executive producer of a movie. She earned that shot. She put in her time. She did the work. She assistant to JJ. By the way, Rob, you've said this many times. Do not think an assistant's job is beneath you.
Oh, no.
It is the first sturdy rung on a ladder that gives you an opportunity to climb. There are too many people. I know, I'm not going to go into my...
Especially with the director, John, that's running television production, movie productions, directing. I mean, there's no better... I am, as everyone knows, I'm not a fan of J.J. Abrams' Star Trek movies and not so much of The Force Awakens, but the guy is at the epicenter of Hollywood. If you are watching, he is about to get a $500 million overall deal with Warner Brothers. He is one of the biggest powerhouses in Hollywood, and if you want to learn the business, that is ground zero for where you're going to learn. And this girl, she was in, as they would say in Vietnam, she was in the shit. And she was every single day dealing with everybody from every part of production. She probably knows more about production than 10 other producers might.
Well, here's where you and I are going to start to differ. All right. Whereas I believe that all that stuff, all that work and experience earned her the shot at actually being the de facto producer or one of the de facto producers of a movie. Are you effing kidding me? Are you kidding me? You are going to take... Let's put this a little bit into context. Before being given Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy has either producer or executive producer credits on over 50 motion pictures. I'm not counting co-producer credit, associate producer, none of that stuff. She was credited and been called by Steven Spielberg, greatest filmmaker of all time, the single most gifted producer he's ever worked with in her life. She did over 50 of those films before taking over Lucasfilm. Kevin Feige was not associate producer, not co-producer. He was either executive producer or producer on 9 comic book films before he was given the presidency title over at Marvel. We're not talking about the stuff that got him the shot to become a producer. We're talking about he actually did the producer job on 9 comic book films, not all of them great, but he had the experience. And then they gave him that role to run that whole thing. Rob, I'm gonna just be straight up honest with you. You guys know I'm a Star Wars guy. That's what I am. I've been that since birth. My earliest childhood memories, my mom taking me to see Star Wars. Star Wars has helped define every stage of my life. I like The Last Jedi. I mean, I am a Star Wars guy. All right? I am a Star Wars guy. This, I as a fan watching, seeing you're going to create this position, which, by the way, let me be clear. I think the creation of this position is a good move. I think it frees up Kathleen Kennedy to more kind of focus just on the overall shepherding of the company and the corporation as a whole. That's great. Give another person the responsibility for running all the movie and live action stuff. I think it's a good move. It's a prudent move. It's a shrewd move. I like the move. But Rob, while she's had this education of assisting for J.J. Abrams and all that kind of stuff, she's been on the job for one day of actually being the producer of one movie, which, by the way, still hasn't even come out into theaters yet. Still hasn't come out in theaters yet. And based on doing the job of the producer on one film, they go over and bypass other men and women in this industry who have been in this industry a hell of a lot longer, have a whole lot more experience, have a whole hell of a lot more credits, and are probably much better qualified for this job. And they give it to somebody who has actually held the position of producer for one film that hasn't come out yet. And now this person is in charge of all their live action universe. The movies, the TV show, and all that kind of stuff.
She's in charge of the physical production of the live action.
If you actually read her, she is shepherding everything that has to do with live action productions from TV shows, movies. She is the overseer and director. She's the buck stops here person for all that. For all intents and purposes, she is now the Kevin Feige of Lucasfilm. She's the Kevin Feige of Lucasfilm. She is the director. Or she's going to be the one hiring the directors. She's going to be the one approving the scripts. She's the one who's going to be doing the job of a producer. Only she's producing the whole thing, but she's actually done the job on one movie. To me, this is like, the night manager at a 7-Eleven turns to the cashier kid and says, you know what? You've done your job really well.
But it's not like that.
No, it is like that.
No, it's not, dude. That's not how the business works.
Dude, you know what this is like? This is the Simon Kinberg situation all over again.
It isn't,
Who knows X-Men better than Simon Kinberg? Simon Kinberg knows his business, but he never directed anything. And then you give him a major motion picture to direct when he's never done it?
Look, you forget that this is Star Wars. You're looking at a company, Lucasfilm, that's making both live action motion pictures. They're making animated shows, and they're also making the Cassian Andor series, The Mandalorian, and whatever their third series is. This woman comes from an origin of a place where she worked for a director who was also the head of his own company that was making movies and television shows, which is a lot at the same time, and coordinating all of that. There's very few people in Hollywood that are doing all of those things at the same time, and she was at the epicenter of that and worked her way all the way up while J.J. Abrams while she was co-producing Into Darkness, Super 8, and Force Awakens, she was also probably coordinating Person of Interest and maybe the end of Lost and all of these things that were going on at the same time. There's very few people in Hollywood that have the kind of experience she has had. And remember, she was there instrumental in the development of Force Awakens while J.J. Abrams was writing it with Lawrence Kasdan and interfacing with Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy the whole time. So there's very few people that have been in the trenches the way she has. My first job was working at Warner Brothers for the senior vice president of physical production, Bill Young. He was at the top of the studio. Now, he was underneath Bob Daly and Terry Semel, and he was underneath the people that decided, like Lisa Henson. But he was in charge of the physical production of all the movies that Warner Brothers made. And we were making 15 movies at a time when I was there. And so her experience is very unique.
I still say, though, everything you just described is an explanation to me about why she deserves a shot to produce a movie. I think you laid out a great argument for why should she be. But there's another level, Rob. It's a different level. This, you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of like, and almost every time this turns out badly. It's like a former NBA player. This has happened a couple of occasions. Former NBA player just gets given a head coaching job on an NBA team. Hey, this guy knows basketball. He knows the game, but he's never coached, and he's never been a coach. Doesn't matter. He knows the game. He's been on the court. He's played the game. He knows the game. Put him in there. And it almost always ends in disaster. Simon Kinberg has worked shoulder to shoulder with some great directors. He's been a very hands-on producer. He's been on the sets. Very few people know the X-Men or the industry as well as Simon Kinberg does. But you and I both agreed. To then just step up and to think you can make your first directorial effort a massive tentpole film is a bad idea. And we saw how that turned out. I agree with you 100% that she has earned the rank of producer and to be given a shot to produce a movie, even a movie like Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. I agree. She's earned that shot. But I just think there is a chasm of difference to say, this is the first time she's ever actually held the reins. There's a difference, Rob, because you know this, I know this. There is a difference between being under the tutelage of somebody, being part of there, being in the shit like you so accurately described, and actually now being the person in the chair, actually holding the reins and being the buck stops here person. She's got a little taste of that with Star Wars Episode 9, and I respect that. But to then go from that to saying, you're now, when a Kevin Feige produces and executive producers 9 comic book films before he takes on a responsibility like that, I just look at this, Rob, and I just go, I do not understand the rationale here. I don't understand the logic here. This is, to me, a poor move. But I'll tell you what.
She's been working, though, for 15 years, and she's been in it.
That's why she earned a producer job. But there's a difference between being the producer. You described to me why she's earned the shot
well, she's clearly,
at actually being a producer. And she's done it on one movie, but we haven't even seen it yet.
No, but I think she clearly knows a lot because I think,
of course,
as
she
the
knows
editor,
a lot.
But the editor who said the editor working on Force Awakens was, on Rise of Skywalker. There's an article you can read. It was published last week about how she was cutting on set. And she was actually calling out for some shots. She's like, "Can you go get this shot?" Because they were moving so quickly, and that leads me to believe.
Producer.
Well, no, the editor. This is the editor talking.
Right, but she's talking about Michelle, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and she's the producer. Yeah.
Oh, the editor is as well?
No, sorry. I thought you were saying the editor was talking about Michelle.
No. The editor. The editor
sorry.
was literally editing on set, so they were going that quickly. They were, and my point is that the coordination and the actual production of that film had to have been clockwork precision to be able to do what they did in the amount of time they did it in. And they talk about how it was a much more compressed schedule than Force Awakens. So she probably proved in battle that she knows exactly what she's doing. And I would imagine
once on one film.
Well,
one time.
She probably did a lot more work than she
does it on 9 films. A Kathleen Kennedy over 50 films.
Sure.
One time to give somebody a role like this
but with the actual title. That doesn't mean that she hasn't been doing the work.
Yeah, but there are other people who have done the work and then have the experience. Again, I just think there's a massive difference, Rob, between learning it and then actually being in the chair with your hands on the reins, and she's only done that once. And then to be given a position like this, I don't know. Now look, I gotta say, am I completely pessimistic about this? Because I'm sounding like I'm 100% pessimistic about this. I'm not. Do I think this is a good decision? I do not think this is a good decision. No, but it could have been worse. They could have gone out and hired somebody who had never been in the chair, like they did with Simon Kinberg, who had never been in the chair. She has been in the chair for at least one major high-profile tentpole film, and I believe she earned that shot. I mean, I think her resume speaks to the fact that she earned that shot for all the reasons that Rob so accurately described. I believe that. So there's kind of 2 modes of thought on this for me personally. How do I feel about it, and what am I going to do about it? All right, here's how I feel about it. I think this is a mistake. I think there are other men and women in this business who have more experience, have had more years of doing this, who have worked harder, who have accumulated a resume and better experience and are better positioned to be more qualified to take this job than Michelle does right now. That's how I feel. I don't think it's the worst decision in the world, but that's how I feel. What am I going to do about it? All right, here's what I'm going to do about it. I'm going to give it a chance. I mean, ultimately, as a fan, what else are we going to do? We can moan and bitch and complain about it, which I will do today. But then after I moan and bitch and complain about it for a day, I'm going to go, okay, now what else is there to do but to sit back and give it a shot? Like even when they hire an NBA coach who's never coached, okay, complain about it at first, but it's done. So now let's just give it a shot and let's see how it turns out. It very rarely turns out well, but there are exceptions. There are exceptions. And maybe this is the exception. So today, as a Star Wars fan, I'm feeling pretty blue. I'm feeling pretty like, what the hell is my team doing? What the hell is Lucasfilm doing? This is a bonehead decision. Fine. That's how I feel about it today. But tomorrow, all the rest of us can do is go, well, it's done. She's the person now. So all we can do is cheer for her. And let's see how it works out. And let's see how it plays out. And that's the only thing that I, as a Star Wars fan, can now do, is I'm just going to go, okay, go Michelle, go make this work. I'm going to cheer for you. I'm going to hope you succeed, make some great movies. Let's hope that this is the exception. Let's hope this is the exception, as there have been some other rare exceptions. That's all I can do, Rob. So today, I'm going to be an angry, butthurt, entitled little whiny fanboy. That's what I'm going to do today, and say this is a bad move. There's tons of precedents to show that this is not a smart decision. But it could have been worse. There are stupider people. There are people with less training than she has and less experience than she has that could have been given this. And if Kathleen Kennedy, who has produced and executive produced over 60 films, is going to look at this young lady and say, I see the talent in this lady and I believe in her, well, okay. Then as somebody who doesn't know her, all I can do as a fan is sit back and go, all right, let's make it work. Let's show us, make it happen, make it go. And I'm going to cheer you on every step of the way. I just think it's a bad decision. Rob, let me ask you this though. Another question that has come up is that there's been rumblings and rumors that Bob Iger and Alan Horn have kind of been working at grooming Kathleen Kennedy to actually move her out of Lucasfilm into an even more senior position at Disney. I don't know if that's true or not, but that has been the whispers for a while. Do you think the hiring of, just forget Michelle specifically, do you think the hiring and the creation of this type of position is a, what's the best word for it, a preparation sort of move for the eventuality of moving Kathleen Kennedy out into a higher ranking at Disney and maybe to move this person up to the new head of Lucasfilm? Or do you think that's just getting way ahead of ourselves at this point?
No, I think they needed somebody in a position to understand and have the ability to coordinate multiple productions over different platforms. And I think they didn't have that person. Because she had dealt with that, as I said, when J.J. Abrams was producing movies and television, she was used to dealing with the deluge of work that was coming in from multiple productions, and that's what is happening at Lucasfilm now. They had Episode 9 going in The Mandalorian, but now they're going to have whatever the Weiss and Benioff trilogy is going to be. They're going to have 3 live-action television shows. They're going to have more animation, probably things we don't even know about. And they need somebody that's quick enough, that has dealt with this before when they're dealing, because Kathleen Kennedy, even her, she's like a one-production person. And for her, she was probably overwhelmed even dealing with The Mandalorian, the Cassian Andor series. She's like, oh, wait, what are we doing? I'm used to doing, big movies.
The animated series that they have going on.
Yeah, the animated shows, and there was just too much. And what they needed they needed a boots on the ground person, somebody with that kind of experience to come in at the corporate level and really focus and understand how to filter all of these productions to make it easier for Kathleen Kennedy and probably everybody else at the corporate level to understand what's going on. And I think that's what she was doing, and that's what she's been groomed and trained for, and that's why I think she got the position.
Well, bottom line here for me is today I'm a sourpuss. Tomorrow I become Michelle Rejwan's biggest fan, and and cheer her on, and that's all we got. But Rob, I want to know, what the F has happened? What universe are we living in right now where you're the more optimistic person on a Star Wars property than me? What the hell's going on?
Well,
what's happening here? Who are you, and what have you done with Robert Meyer Burnett?
I want to back up and say I'm not even talking about the content of the movies. I'm still all dubious about that.
Right.
Don't think that I feel good about what we're going to get in front of us. I am more excited, or I think I'm more optimistic about how these things are going to get made. I'm not worried that they're going to spin off into oblivion now. I think it's a good move. I think Lucasfilm needed a person like this. That doesn't mean they're going to give us better Star Wars. I just want to be clear on that.
All right, well said.
Yeah. So, although I'm hoping. I'm deliriously excited for The Mandalorian. I still don't know why should I care about The Rise of Skywalker. I hope Kylo Ren gets his ass handed to him. Cannot wait. But I want it to be great. I really do.
All right, guys.
I want Palpatine at the end to just win. Kill everybody. Palpatine is possessed Matt Smith, or whatever the hell he's going to do, and be like,
Matt Smith's out, by the way.
I'm going to put the galaxy back the way I want it, and we reset it back to New Hope.
Well, you know what? That would make Anne happy, because Palpatine's actually Anne's favorite character in the world.
Did she get the hot toy with Star Wars? Throne?
She does not, but she probably should. Hey, listen, guys. So ultimately, that brings us to what is today's question of the day. The question of the day today is simply this. Lucasfilm has hired somebody who has only ever been a fully credited producer on one film to be the head of all live action movies and TV shows. Is this a good, bold move with fresh blood? Or is this a bad, questionable move? Here's what you guys have said on Twitter so far. And by the way, you can answer this question yourself over at my Twitter account, simply at John Campea. I put this up just moments before the show started today. Here's what you guys are saying right now. Almost 2,400 votes have come in. Right now, 36% of you, which is way more than I thought, 36% of you are saying this is a good, bold move with fresh blood. 64% of you guys are saying this is a bad, questionable move. I'm going to leave this, of course, up for the rest of the day. You guys go on in there, cast your vote on that. And again, let's see how this all works out. I think this is a major, major move, and maybe this is something that we're going to look back on as a disastrous turn, or maybe the beginning of a new golden era in the age of Lucasfilm. Let's see how this all turns out.
I'm voting good move, John.
I hope so. All I can do now is cheer that you're right. That's all I can do is cheer that you're right, and I'm going to be waving the flag starting tomorrow. Today, I'm just going to be like, what the hell are you doing? Anyway, but that's me. All right, guys. Listen, we're now going to move on to the live questions, but before we get to the live questions, guys, there are a number of other things going on in the world of entertainment that we don't have the time to go into in depth as main topics, but we want to make sure you guys are all caught up. So right now, Fact Checker Jonathan presents to you today's installment of the Movie News Feed. Check it out.
First up, after long years of rumors and failed talks, the Bill & Ted 3 production begins. Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter are bringing back the band in Bill & Ted Face the Music. From Slash Film, the movie kicked off production with a gratitude and nostalgia-filled post from Winter, who praised writer Ed Solomon, the writer of the original Bill & Ted movies, for being the rock that holds the bodacious family together. Solomon also teased a few comparison shots of young Reeves and Winter with their daughters, played by Samara Weaving and Bridget Lundy Payne, who show an uncanny resemblance to the excellent duo. Bill & Ted Face the Music will be directed by Dean Parasot of Galaxy Quest, Red 2, and Fun with Dick and Jane. The film is scheduled for release August 21st, 2020. Next up, I'm sure we've all dreamed about being Iron Man at one point in our lives. What's not to want? The billions in wealth? The advanced technology? From JoBlo.com, if anyone was going to build a real-life Iron Man suit, it'd be Adam Savage. The former Mythbusters star has returned with Savage Builds, a new Discovery series with a focus on extreme engineering, and the first episode of the series finds Savage building a 3D printed titanium real-life Iron Man suit, which also happens to be bulletproof. With the help of Gravity Industries, Savage is able to use several 1,000 horsepower mini-jet engines to give his suit the ability of flight. Gravity Industries founder Richard Browning was the one to suit up in Savage's Iron Man suit at the end of the day. Next up, Steven Spielberg's movie adaptation of West Side Story hopes to be a very big deal in America. From Huffpost.com, on Monday, the director's production company released a first look at the rival gangs, the Jets and Sharks. They're ready to rumble and to dance. The Romeo and Juliet-like lovers gazing at each other here, Tony and Maria, are played by Ansel Elgort and Rachel Ziegler. The film has been adapted from the original 1957 Broadway stage musical. Rita Moreno, who won an Oscar as Anita in the 1961 film version, returns in a new role. The production has been filming in Harlem and is scheduled to open December 18th, 2020. Next up, maybe Google was onto something when it used John Legend as the voice of its smart speakers. Nearly 1 in 3 participants in a recent Adobe Smart Speaker survey said that they want a celebrity as the voice of their AI assistant. From Variety, participants of the Adobe Analytics June 2019 Voice Report, get all that? Also has some clear preferences for celebrities they want to answer when they ask for help from a voice assistant. 47% voted for Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson to answer questions about the weather, their daily calendar, and more. Will Smith ranks second with 43%, followed by Arnold Schwarzenegger with 35%, George Clooney with 33%, Chris Rock with 31%, and Oprah Winfrey with 30%. Personally, I would either want Christopher Walken or Snoop Dogg. And finally, Nicholas Pinnock, star of ABC's forthcoming legal drama For Life, Doctor Who's David Tennant, and Agent Carter's Haley Atwell are to star in Netflix's police interrogation drama Criminal. From Deadline, the format-bending series consists of 12 episodes of 45 minutes, with 3 episodes each set across 4 countries: France, Spain, Germany, and the UK. The drama takes place exclusively within the confines of a police interview suite. It is a stripped-down cat-and-mouse drama that will focus on the intense mental conflict between the police officer and the suspect in question. All 12 episodes will film at Netflix's production hub at Ciudad de la Tele in Madrid. And that will do it for today's installment of the Movie News Feed.
And now you guys are all caught up to date with everything going on in the world of movie news, and a special thank you once again to fact checker Jonathan for putting that together for us. All right.
I love those.
I'm composing myself, letting go of the Star Wars rage, starting to transition into this cheering this move on later, but just sorry, I get a little bit passionate about Star Wars. I'm sorry.
No.
I'm sorry. I get a little bit passionate about Star Wars and just don't like seeing my favorite teams doing dumb things. But who knows? Hopefully you're right on this, Rob. I'll never be cheering harder for you being right in one of our debates than I am for this one. All right. With that down, guys, let's move on to the live questions today. You guys have been firing in a whole bunch of live questions, so let's jump on over and start getting to those. And we're going to start things off here with Ben Rayner, who writes, John, Pam's art show and the school are the same episode, by the way. Yeah, somebody reminded me that yesterday. Those are two in the same. I just thought when he goes to the dude's business school to teach a thing, I thought that was a separate, but that's why he was late getting to Pam's art show. I totally forgot about that. So yeah, I got corrected on that, Ben, yesterday. Dylan Robbins writes, wow, today I learned Cali has a bigger population than the whole country of Canada. What? Yep. Canada does not have a massive population. Physically, we're a much bigger country than the U.S., but we actually have a much, much smaller population. Much, much smaller population. A lot of people don't realize that. Chris Feldman writes, although all three are important, do you think a film relies most on its script, its actors, or its director? Which is easiest to overcome if weak? Well, Rob, look, I've got a thought on this. To me, the most important is the director. Because if you got a bad script, well, who's the last person in that chain? The director. You start with some questionable stuff in a script, a director can make adjustments and try to overcome that. All actors can do is do the best job they can acting. They don't come up with the dialogue, they don't come up with the story, they don't come up with the plot twist, that's all they can do. I'm not saying it's not important, it is, obviously, but to me, the answer is director, period, isn't it? Or what do you think?
Well, a director needs great material in order to make a great film, but I would say so. I mean, ultimately, I'm a firm believer of the auteurist theory, and I know all my writer friends that might be watching this now are going, But the fact is, a screenplay is a blueprint. You need a great blueprint, just like you need great blueprints to build a skyscraper. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you need somebody who has the vision for how the final film is going to look, even before one frame is shot.
Yep.
And that's the real problem. When you remove the power from the person at the top, you end up with this Men in Black situation, or you end up with what's going on with Hellboy, because if you don't have a singular vision that's taking you through, that's informing all these decisions, you wind up with gobbledygook at the end.
Gobbledygook.
Gobbledygook.
I agree. All right, next up here we have Samuel C137 writes, I'm glad that Hollywood's confusing habit of giving immense opportunities to inexperienced people is expanding beyond white men. I think the industry as a whole should value experience above all else, and there are many other women who could do the job. Let's just not pretend this is beyond the norm. Oh, you're not wrong, Samuel. There are a lot of examples. in every industry, including Hollywood, about people like I gave sports as an example of people being given things that there are maybe a lot of other people who maybe deserve it more. It's not a thing. Normally, the beneficiaries of such advantageous behavior is white men. Normally it is. I mean, at least in one case, at least this time is not a white guy being given something they don't really deserve yet. I'll give you that. And I agree with you 100%. I mean, I believe there are other women out there that probably deserve this shot more than she did, or probably more qualified than she is. But again, I'm putting on the optimist hat here for a minute. Maybe this will be a slam dunk. Maybe this will be the half-court shot as the buzzer goes off that does go in. Kathleen Kennedy sees something in her that maybe she didn't see in everybody else, and we can do that. Again, though, to me, Rob, this is just right now, to me, this is Simon Kinberg all over again. This is because I remember when the Simon Kinberg thing happened, I even did a poll about it back in the day when Simon Kinberg was announced that he was going to be doing X-Men. And I was like, guys, I feel like Will Ferrell here. I'm on crazy pills. I feel like Mugatu in Zoolander. I must be on crazy pills here. Because everybody was telling me, Rob, everybody was screaming at me, John, you don't get it. You don't get it. Kinberg knows X-Men. And he knows the movie production business. He knows he's worked with all these directors. He knows what he did. This is going to be awesome. I'm like, yeah, that's great. But he's never actually done it. And it's a different thing. And people just told me how stupid I was and that I had no idea what I was talking about. And that Kinberg directing X-Men Dark Phoenix was the best decision in the world and blah, blah. And it just feels a lot like that right now, Rob. If you had it, look, Rob, you're seeing me. I'm at the bar. I'm depressed. My head's hanging low. I got a bottle of Jack in my hand. I don't even drink, but I got a bottle of Jack in my hand. And you've got like 10 seconds to make me feel better about this. Like you laid out a lot of argument, a lot of great stuff here. But if there was one seed you wanted to plant that say, look, here's why you should feel a little bit optimistic, which I need right now, what would that seed of optimism be?
In the position that she was in, she wasn't working, especially as J.J. Abrams' assistant for 6 years and then moving on. She wasn't just working on one movie every 2 years. She was working on 4 movies and 10 different television shows all at one time. So she has exponentially more experience than a person who might have produced half of the things that she's worked on.
But she was never in charge.
But a person doesn't have to be in charge to be doing all the work.
It's a different... Hey, dude, as somebody who has been in both... You know this.
I know.
Who's done both. There are two different... I don't want to get into the debate again because I think you made your point very well, and it just... Oh, God, I just need to feel better about this. All right, let's move on here. Draco Eris writes, been a fan of you all since AMC Movie Talk. I was lucky to meet John Schnepp at a convention. I bought his Superman documentary, which is great. I learned that he died after I saw Ant-Man and the Wasp. Yeah, it was, and we're coming up on the 1 year anniversary.
Yeah.
Like Rob and I were talking about the other day that we already, before we went to Comic-Con, we knew it was coming, but it was at Comic-Con, coming out of the panel that we did, Rob.
Yep.
That we got the official word that he had passed, and it's gonna make for a bittersweet Comic-Con this year. It's definitely gonna make for a bittersweet Comic-Con. But Draco, thank you for sharing that memory of yours, and it's great that you had that, and it's great that you saw his documentary, The Death of Superman Lives: What Happened. If you guys have not seen that documentary yet, I highly encourage you to go and check it out because it's totally worth watching. All right, Jersey Kid writes, just saw This Means War. Oh, is that the Tom? Not Tom Holland. Venom.
Tom Hardy and
Chris Pine.
Yes.
And Chris Pine movie. Just saw This Means War 2012. Wasn't good, although the performances were decent. It felt like an elongated version of Spy vs. Spy comic, which I thought they were kind of going for. A little more humor. I gave it a C overall. You know what? I actually thought Pine's... Was it Reese Witherspoon? Was she the love interest in it? Was it Reese Witherspoon or was it another actress?
I don't remember.
I thought it was Reese Witherspoon. Anyway, I actually thought the chemistry between the performers in This Means War was actually pretty enjoyable to watch. Overall, I gotta say, kind of like Men in Black, to me it wasn't a good movie, but the chemistry of the characters was actually pretty fun. You could tell they had a good time making the movie, at least at any rate. What did you think about it overall?
I felt the same way. I mean, it was a gimmicky movie that didn't transcend its gimmick. That's what I thought.
That's a great way of putting it.
And sometimes when you see movies like, I would say a movie like Midnight Run, with Charles Grodin and Robert De Niro that was directed by Martin Brest, who made Beverly Hills Cop. That's a movie that completely transcended its gimmick. And I love movies like that. I love when you see Tootsie is another movie. Gimmick movie that's a genius comedy that completely transcended its premise. And I love it. And movies like This Means War didn't do that.
Yeah.
It gave you exactly what it promised, but nothing more. And that's kind of
I think that was a great way to put it. All right, next up, Damien Dornford writes, "Hey, John, thanks for featuring some of the work I've done. Example, Felipe the Sentient Dancing Microphone, John Gauntlet with Butter Popcorn. Oh, I like those ones. I like those ones a lot. I'm getting married this Friday. Congratulations. Do you have any words of wisdom for a successful marriage?"
Ooh.
Well, first of all, Damien, congratulations on getting married. That's awesome. I hope you guys have a fabulous day, and I hope it goes every bit of the way you guys are planning it out, and I hope it's perfect. Bit of advice: always over-communicate. Always over-communicate. I think that has been, I mean, look, every relationship has its struggles and challenges and all that kind of stuff too. And I'm not going to pretend that Ann and I haven't had ours along. Well, of course we have. We're two individual people. But one of the things that she and I have been always very committed to is over-communicate. Over-communicate, over-communicate, over-communicate. Always know where your partner is. I don't mean physically. I mean, like, where are they at? You know, always know where they're at. And just be ready to kind of meet any needs that they have. So anyway, in a very simple nutshell, in a very shallow kind of way, the best thing I can say is over-communicate. So anyway, best of luck to you guys. I hope you have a fabulous wedding day, and I hope everything goes perfect for you. All right. Echo Base Network writes, "Robert, did you hear William Shatner unblocked Doomcock from Twitter yesterday?" I've heard of William Shatner. I haven't heard of any of the rest of these people. After his fans raised over $1,000 for William Shatner's charity, it all went down during one of his live streams.
I did, and I'm a big fan of Dictor Don Doomcock. I watch him quite a bit. He's very amusing, and sometimes he's very smart. And I thought that was really very cool. And that's the way social media is played, folks.
All right, next up, Murray Reich writes, check out how it should have ended on Endgame. These people, like, always do such a great job. I have not seen that one yet.
I haven't either, but I
love the How It Should Have Ended series.
It's great.
Even when they're terrible, they're enjoyable.
Yeah.
They do such a good job on those, and they're always fun. And some people take them too seriously, like, how dare you say that about this? It's like, it's in fun. It's totally in fun. So I haven't seen the Endgame one yet. Have you, Rob? Have you seen the Endgame one?
I have not seen the Endgame one, but I've been watching those things for years.
Yeah.
And I dig them.
They always do a really,
that
really
and
good
Honest
job on
Trailers. You got to watch all of them.
Honest Trailers is so... And again, something people take too seriously. It's like, how dare you say that about my... It's in fun. Come on. It's just in fun. Clearly, they love the movie they're talking about. Sometimes they don't, I'm sure. But even the movies they love, they just rip them to shreds in a totally fun, tongue-in-cheek way. I quite enjoy their stuff, actually. All right. Chris Feldman writes, do you think we'll someday see widespread interactive movies where audiences can vote on how the story progresses, like a choose your own adventure? No, I don't think we will. I think we'll see it happen, but will we see it widely adopted? No, because it's a totally preposterous idea to me. It's just ridiculous. I want to see the movie, the story the director's telling me, not what the Yahoo sitting 2 seats down from me press that they want to see happen. Do the option where she shows her boobs. Do that one. That's not what I want to pay money to go to see. So will it be experimented with? I think that's inevitable. Will it become a widely embraced thing? I don't think so. Rob, what do you think?
I don't think it's going to be widely embraced.
Yeah.
But you're still cracking me up.
Sujith writes, great, more hate coming Kathleen Kennedy's way. I mean, I don't know. I don't know that Look, I question the decision. I do. I question the decision. I don't question the decision as any way of attacking. Just because I question, Anne might question a decision I make. That doesn't mean she's attacking me. I can question a decision that maybe Kevin Feige makes. That doesn't mean I'm attacking Kevin Feige. I do question this decision, but that doesn't mean we're attacking Kathleen Kennedy. Murray Reich writes, that video I mentioned about that girl standing up to the First Order at Galaxy's Edge has been taken down. Why? I do not know. I did notice that yesterday. That's no longer on YouTube. But you can still find it around. It's still up on Facebook. You can find it on Facebook. I don't know if you saw this, Rob.
With the little girl with the Imperial officer kneeling down.
She's like hands on her hips.
I love that video.
That's awesome.
And the guy, first of all, kudos to the character
cast.
player. The cast, they were awesome. That guy was so good.
Like when she stood up to him and his face, he looks at the stormtroopers like,
Yeah,
how dare you?
It was great. I mean, that was it really shows. You've been there, but I've become a fan of these videos. I watch all of people's Galaxy's Edge videos. Like Kylo Ren arrives at Galaxy's Edge. He comes down the ramp of the thing. I've watched all those, and I was like, what a cool experience. A little girl, she's gonna go home and tell her friends, I stood up to an Imperial officer. It'll be the greatest theme park experience ever.
It was one of the greatest videos. Disney should take that and make it part of their marketing for the whole damn thing.
And give that Imperial officer an award.
Oh, I know. They played it so I was so impressed with them. I was so impressed with them.
Yeah.
And they just did everything they could do to give this little girl like one of the most memorable things she's ever going to have.
Yeah.
I just thought it was magic. If you haven't seen it, what it is that...
John, is Galaxy's Edge the most magical place on Earth?
I had a hell of a good time. I can't wait. Ann and I were actually just looking at the schedule last night, seeing when we're going to go back. We're probably going to go back in August. But anyway, go see that video that Murray is talking about. Pardon me. Samuel C137 writes, is there a favorite genre of yours you wish you could talk about more if the realities of YouTube engagement were different? I have no idea what you're talking about, Samuel. I'll just tell you straight up. I don't feel like there's any genre of movie I can't talk about because of the nature of YouTube engagement. So I'm not quite sure what you mean, but we talk Westerns and comedies and sci-fi and action and documentaries and dramas and horror. And so I'm not really, I think I'm missing what it is you're asking. I think I'm just kind of missing it there, so I apologize for that. But so generally speaking, no, there's no genre that I wish we could talk about. We can talk about any genre we want. Luke1234 writes, I've been watching you since the leaked photos of the black Robocop suit, that's going back a bit, first appeared, was at the 100 million viewer party. Oh, thanks, back in the AMC days. Thank you. That was great. That was a great night. I don't know. You weren't there for that, were you, Rob?
No.
The 100 million view party we did with AMC was actually really one of my favorite things I've ever done in my career. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. I spent more money on super chats than all the women I've dated. Well, hey. What can I say? I feel like a special girl then, Luke. I feel like a special girl. That's awesome that you were at the 100 million view party.
That's the genre you can't talk about.
That's the genre I cannot talk
engagement.
about. But hey, listen, Luke, do me a favor. If you've got any pictures from that night, email them to me at John Campea Show. I would love to see those. Thanks for sharing that, dude. Miguel Myers writes, hey, John, theory. Mutants have been in the MCU the entire time, but Professor X erased mutants from everybody's mind because humans wouldn't accept them. That has been mentioned about 1,000 times, Miguel. Here's the main problem with that. Okay, Professor X he uses Cerebro to enhance his power and wipes everybody's memory of mutants. Woo, great. 5 minutes later, a young teenage girl who's going through puberty, which is when the X gene usually manifests, has a manifestation of her power in front of her parents. Okay, I just got done in Cerebro, but I guess I gotta go back. Goes back to Cerebro, 5 minutes. Worldwide mind wipe again, yay. Whew, okay, great. 30 seconds later, in the Ukraine, some mutant with the power decides to hold up a 7-Eleven, and it gets captured on security footage. You know, Professor X is taking a dump. He's like, crap, I got to get back into Cerebro. I was just there 3 minutes. I got to go back in there again. So basically, Professor X would have to 24 hours a day, nonstop, stay in Cerebro, never stopping, and constantly in a state of every 5 seconds wiping humanity's memory of it doesn't work. Because the moment one mutant manifests, it's got to all be done again. And with thousands of mutants around the world and new being born every day, it just makes that not a practical explanation. Is there a way for that to work though, Rob? Like maybe I'm missing something obvious.
No, I don't think there is. I mean, look, we already saw. We've talked about Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch being manifested, turned into miracles by an Infinity Stone, the power of an Infinity Stone. So why not Thanos' snap? Why not that have unleashed the X gene?
Of course, the drawback for that is you wipe out all the mythology of X-Men, the history of X-Men, the history of Magneto and Charles and all that kind of stuff, and how over the years, I mean, that's why, and by the way, I sit here and poo-poo on everybody's theories. I don't have a better one. I don't have a better one. I'm the worst kind of guy. I'll tell you why your idea doesn't work. Do you have a better idea? No, I don't have a better idea. I am the worst. Yeah. I'm absolutely the worst. I can't think of a better way to do it myself. That's why Kevin Feige makes the big bucks. They're going to come up with something. They'll come up with something. Okay.
And they already know what it is.
And they already, I think, maybe.
They do.
I don't know.
They know.
Maybe. Anthony R. writes, where are we at here? There we go. Anthony R. writes, call me weird, but I've always preferred listening to scores over regular pop culture songs. I'd rather listen to John Williams or go to a Final Fantasy concert than listen to solo singers and bands. I don't think there's anything weird about that. Music is as subjective as anything else. You like what you like, and if that's what you dig, that's what you dig. And listen, this morning I got in my shower, and I said, hey, Google, play Lord of the Rings soundtrack, and I listened to that in the shower today. So ain't nothing wrong with that, Anthony. You ain't weird. You, sir, are a cultured gentleman who takes your martini shaken, not stirred, I'm sure, by all accounts. O+98 writes, hey, John, did you see Snyder's latest Dark Side image? I know your stance on Snyder Cut, but why is Snyder teasing us with images? We talked about this the other day, and I talked with somebody else. That was a pre-production image. That was an image that existed before they ever even shot the thing, before they ever shot the movie. I don't know why Snyder keeps doing that. I don't think so. Look, I'm a Zack Snyder fan. While all these posers and pretenders and fakers out there who are part of the release the Snyder Cut things, all these bandwagon fakers who pretend they're Snyder fans, all right? Where were you when everybody was bashing on Man of Steel and I was the only guy out here waving the Man of Steel flag? Where were you?
I was waving the Man of Steel flag.
Rob. I know you were. And Schnepp was. Actually, no, even Schnepp was. I had to get him to watch it again to appreciate it. That's right. But where were you guys when that was going down? Anyway, it's...
Dude, I got Sucker Punch Hot Toys figures.
Oh, God.
Yes, I do. Baby doll.
Do you got all of them? Do you got Baby doll?
I have 2.
Which one do you got? You got Baby
doll? Baby doll and the chick that's in the... She's got the hat on, the hat and the gray, or the beige fatigues. Okay,
I know the one. The one who was in... the one who was then in Justice League.
Yes.
Yeah. Anne's sorority sister is actually is in that movie. She's the Asian one.
Oh, so I only bought Baby doll. The other one was given to me.
Right.
Because I had to have a.
By the way, she's delightful. She's in not New Gods, American Gods now.
Oh, really?
She plays.
Oh yeah, the girl, the lead. Yeah, she plays the dead wife.
Girl in that now. Yeah.
The dead wife. Yeah.
Which is really rather cool. What were we even talking about? Oh, anyway, yeah. I think it's a cool image. I don't know why Zach does it though, because whatever.
I want to see his new movie.
So that's what I'm focused on.
The zombie movie.
I want to see the new movie
with the
he's
heist,
doing.
the biggest heist during the zombie apocalypse. Bring it on.
I want to see this new one, and I'm just looking forward to Snyder moving on from all this stuff.
Yeah.
Getting back to doing what he does best, making some creative, fun, visually really interesting movies. So,
I want to know why you'd want to steal money when civilization's collapsing and zombies are everywhere. That's the answer I want.
All right, next up. Let's see. Manny Garcia writes, hey, John and Rob, the Vista Theater on Sunset is having a Kaiju summer series, Godzilla movies, all July and August, followed by a Kaiju party. Where is that on Sunset? Where's that?
It's right on it's right where Hollywood and Sunset meet. It's in East Hollywood. It's right on, what is it?
I lived right by there. I'm trying to remember where.
Vermont. It's on Hillhurst.
Hollywood and Sunset?
Hollywood and Sunset, where they actually meet.
Right.
Yeah.
Why am I not bringing that up?
Yeah, it's east of Vermont.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll have to check that out.
The Vista Theater's great. But, the only reason I wouldn't be going... I mean, I want to go see, like, Godzilla versus Monster Zero, but I just wonder about the kind of prints they're showing. You go see these movies, and the American Cinematheque, I was going to go to their Kaiju Festival, but their prints are like... They even mentioned it like it's iffy, what they're showing.
All right. Let's move on here. Next up comes to us from, that was Manny. Now we're at DC Patience Writes, glad there's no Pixar short for Toy Story 4. Coco had a 20-minute lame movie after we sat through 15 minutes of previews. Those kids were about to riot. Yeah, we talked about that the other day. For those of you who didn't hear the story, Pixar is not going to be playing a short film before Toy Story 4. First time they're ever going to fail to do that since 1998 with A Bug's Life. And I theorize, I wonder if that has anything to do with the massive backlash they got for not showing a short film, but showing like a 20-plus minute feature, Olaf's Adventure or something like that, the Frozen feature. Now, normally it's like a 2, 3, 4-minute thing, but they showed something like it's over 20 minutes long and pissed a lot of people off. I'm still down for the short, especially like the one they just did with Incredibles 2 called Bow. Oh my God, it's so good. and won them an Academy Award for Best Short Animated Feature. But I agree, DC, they should never do these things that are like 15 minutes long, 20 minutes long. It's too much. It's too much. Absolutely it is. All right, Chris Feldman writes, what does Iron Man do before he takes a shower? He gets stark naked. Bad joke. Speaking of bad jokes, did you see the Aristocrats joke documentary? I did. That was done by Penn and Teller.
I love that documentary.
It's so vile and so funny. Gilbert Gottfried, and if you guys, first, it is the vilest of Bob Saget. It is the vilest of vile, totally debase, everything, the worst possible thing you can imagine. But it is so funny. What do you call the act? The Aristocrats. Maybe give it, if you're not too sensitive to really vile material, you might want to check it out.
I'm pulling my microphone down because I'm just thinking about all the different.
Oh, some of the stuff they do is so funny.
It's great.
It's so funny. All right. Let's see. Sam Fisher writes, Robert, what do you think of Good Omens? I loved it. I think Sheen and Tennant had amazing chemistry. I think it was the most accurate adaptation I've ever seen.
I'm halfway through. I haven't gotten to the end yet. I love it. And I think you're right. I think it's an incredibly faithful adaptation of the book. And it's really great. And Sheen and Tennant they're marvelous.
I've only seen episode 1.
Oh, it gets
and
good.
I wasn't sold. Like I thought it was well done, but I wasn't sold on it.
I wasn't either, dude. I thought it was a little, like, I called it twee. It was just a little too, but it gets going.
It picks up?
Yeah.
All right, I got to get back to it then. Probably the most accurate adaptation I've ever seen was probably Sin City.
That's true.
That might have been overly accurate in some ways, but it was like deadly accurate. All right. Let's see here. What's up? Willow Yang writes, who impressed you more with their directorial work, John Krasinski for A Quiet Place or Olivia Wilde for Booksmart? Ooh,
that's a good question.
That's a good one. And here's what I'll say to that. First of all, both tremendous jobs done by both of them. Booksmart was, of course, Olivia Wilde's first film that she ever directed. And she did it right. Smaller, indie, lower budget film. Perfect way to start. Anyway, I'm going to go John Krasinski for 2 reasons. One, I thought A Quiet Place was the better movie. Even though I think Booksmart right now is my favorite movie of 2019, I think Quiet Place was a little bit of a better movie. But more than that, he directed so much of that movie without dialogue. And that movie's like all direction. It's just all direction.
Yeah.
And so, but what Olivia Wilde did, do not sleep on what Olivia Wilde did with Booksmart, because she did a tremendous job. I will give the nod right now to John Krasinski. What about you?
Well, being that I have yet to see Booksmart,
you still haven't seen Booksmart.
I can't
Dude, get
say.
on that.
I know. I know
you'll like it. You'll like it.
I've just been a little busy with. I've got my final ADR session for Tango Shalom coming this week, so I'm just like, I will see it.
All right.
It's going to be this weekend. I'm going to catch up. X-Men, Booksmart, whatever else I'm missing.
All right, next up, David Atkins writes, Keanu Reeves, Cyberpunk 2077, Always Be My Maybe, John Wick 4 coming, Bill and Ted, Toy Story 4, Possible Eternals, guys on freaking fire. It is the Keanu-sance right now. We are living in the Keanu-sance right now. It is kind of his world at the moment. Now, we don't know if the Eternals thing is real or not, but I mean, if it is, that would be pretty cool. He's just the hottest thing right now. And he's also being looked at as like the nicest guy in the world.
I also want to point out, bruh's got 2 Hot Toys figures that came out. They will have come out by the end of the summer.
Which are?
Neo. There's a brand new Neo Hot Toys figure. And John Wick. You can have them fight each other. I can't wait.
That reminds me, I've only seen John Wick 3 twice. I got to go back and watch that again before it leaves theaters. All right, Sam Fisher writes, regarding Good Omens, loved episode 3, Cold Open. I haven't seen episode 3. Have you gotten up to 3?
Yeah, and you need to see it.
All right.
You need to see it.
I'll get on that, Sam. I'll get on that. Christopher Benson writes, which comes first, Indiana Jones 5, Kill Bill 3, The Crow remake, a true He-Man film, or John actually watches Punisher Season 2? It is becoming a running joke because I love Punisher Season 1 and I still haven't gotten around to watching Punisher Season 2. I need to get on that. I can guarantee you me watching Punisher Season 2 comes first. Other than that one, I think the He-Man film gets made before the Crow remake, before Kill Bill 3. I don't think there's ever going to be a Kill Bill 3. And before Indiana Jones 5, which I'm starting to doubt will ever even actually happen. So I'm going to say He-Man comes first. Rob, out of those films, which ones do you think, never mind John watching Okay,
Right.
Punisher. Which one do you think happens first?
I think He-Man. I mean, you can't
Yeah.
kill Bill when Bill's already dead.
Well, they could find a way. He comes back from the dead. I don't know. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. Okay, what's next here? DC Patience writes, regarding you being the best man for your female best friend's wedding, my hubby's female best friend was my maid of honor. Oh, that's so cool. She was awesome and helped at a stressful time. I told this story the other day, Rob, about how somebody mentioned that they were best man in their best friend's wedding. And I got to tell the story about how like my best friend in the world was this girl that I grew up with, and for a period of time, and she went away, met a guy while they were away. She was away for quite a while, came back, let us know they were getting married, and the guy was so cool about it because she wanted me to be the best man in the wedding.
Wow.
And he was really gracious about it and let me be the best man in the wedding, so I could be best man in her wedding, which was really great. So
that's cool.
Yeah, and that's really cool, DC, that you actually let that you did the same thing, that you let your husband's female best friend be your maid of honor. I think that's very giving, very generous, very cool, and the start of a great marriage. When you start off with attitudes like that, DC, that's awesome. That's great to hear. All right, Anthony R writes, I pre-ordered Death Standing, Jedi Fallen Order, new Pokemon game, Final Fantasy VII Collector's Edition with more to follow. You only live once. I'll tell you what, I watched that Jedi Fallen Order footage. It looked pretty good to me.
Dude, I'm in, man. And I want Death Standing.
And I'll tell you what, that remastered Final Fantasy VII, or that redux of Final Fantasy VII, I played a lot. I've never played a lot of Final Fantasy games except Final Fantasy VII. I played a hell of a lot of that game, so I'm really down for that. So Jedi Fallen Order, new Final Fantasy, yeah, I think we're both pretty much down for that one as well, Anthony. You only live once, dude. Have some fun. All right, Rye Joe writes, all right, this one's for Rob. I just started watching the Hope and Crosby Road movies after how much praise you've given them. My question, between the two, who's the funniest and which film is best?
Well, I don't want to say which film is best because you said you just started watching them. But I hope I don't get pilloried for this. But I think Bob Hope is funnier. I mean,
he's hilarious.
I think, but look, but not to take away from Bing Crosby, they're just different energy. But I loved, as I watched Hope and Crosby movies. I don't know why. I don't know who. When I was a kid, and I've always loved Bob Hope, and I was lucky to meet Bob Hope. My grandparents, my grandfather founded a country club in Rancho Mirage, California, and they would put on events with Bob and Dolores Hope, and I've been a Bob Hope fan my whole life. He used to host the Academy Awards
all the time.
And I don't know. I'd be curious. When you get to the end, send in another chat and we'll chat, and I'll tell you what my favorite Hope and Crosby Road movie is.
Well, what a better thing than on a Hope and Crosby Road movie than to end off on Robert Meyer Burnett's session here today. You've run out of time. You've got busy things you got to do. Rob, again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for at least trying to be the light at the end of my tunnel on this whole Star Wars situation. I need friends like you surrounding me right now, patting me on the shoulder, telling me it's going to be okay. It's good to have you guys here. So where can people find you online, Rob?
You can find me on Instagram at BurnettRM. Find me on find me on Instagram at RMBurnett. Find me on Twitter at BurnettRM. Find me on my own YouTube channel, The Burnettwork, or the website, theburnettwork.net.
All right, Robin, again, thanks so much for being here, man. It's always good having you around. All right, guys, with that down, let's keep things going. We got about another half hour here to answer some more questions, so let's see how many of these we can actually get through at this point. We're going to pick things up now with Madsif Jada, who writes, love Chernobyl, but didn't seem like honoring to change team of scientists to one person, Emily Watson character. The thing is, at some point, you got to do some adaptation for what makes the story more compelling. Your number one job is to make a compelling movie or television series. And sometimes it's not practical to include all the characters or all the events or all the things that did or all the things that didn't happen. You got to do a little bit of adaptation. So I think they did a great job of honoring all the heroes while also having to take steps to do adaptation to make sure it tells the most compelling story possible, because that's their number one priority. And I think they found a way to do both really, really well. That's just me. I respect that you saw it a little bit differently, and that's totally cool. And it's not an invalid observation, man. It's not an invalid observation. I just saw it a little bit differently. That's all. All right. Diego Mendez writes, a friend got me into Lucifer. Nice. And I started watching it last Monday. Today, I have finished watching all 4 seasons. What a damn great show. I always celebrate. I got to come up with some kind of graphic on the screen, like fireworks going off when a new person says they started watching Lucifer. You guys know I love this show so much. I've become something of an evangelist for it. So always happy to hear somebody else jumping on board and getting caught up, and we still got another season to go. So thanks for sharing that, Diego. It makes me feel happy. All right, DC Patience writes, regarding our Toy Story binge, made it through number 1. Woody was still redeemed. Woody was redeemed, but still a D-bag. Don't say his name in our house. Wish us luck for Toy Story 2. So DC was telling a story on another episode about how her daughter, I believe it was your daughter, just has a very hard time with Woody because he's such a D-bag to Buzz in the first film, right? So that creates a bit of a conundrum, but you guys got through it. That's awesome. Thanks for the follow-up on that, DC. I really appreciate it. That's got to be adorable. Ben Elman writes, you see Midnight's Edge vid about Kurtzman being fired. I'll be honest with you, Ben, I have no idea who Midnight's Edge is, and that's probably cool because there's probably lots of YouTube channels I never heard of, and they've probably never heard of me. So there's that. Gray GT86 Ben writes, MIB International and Ma double feature tonight. Look, I like Ma. I was hoping Ma would be a little bit better, but overall it's solid. It's a solid film that I quite enjoyed watching. It's got some issues, could have been better, but overall pretty damn solid. I liked it more than Men in Black, but again, there are redeeming qualities about Men in Black. I hope you enjoy it, man, so have a good time. Brandon Plummer writes, I'd love to see a Daniel Radcliffe Wolverine. Also, do you think they should try and get Channing Tatum to play Gambit in the MCU or just can the idea? Look, I was like everybody else on the Channing Tatum as Gambit. I was kind of negative on it at first. But the more I thought about it, it actually started to feel right. I wouldn't mind it, but again, character and the movie comes first. So let's see what kind of character they want to do with Gambit, if they want to do Gambit at all. And then once they come up with the Gambit they want, then they got to decide, is Channing Tatum right to play this incarnation of Gambit? You don't build your character around the actor. You get the actor who best fits the character. So I've got a feeling either way, though, they'll probably go in a different direction. But I'll tell you what, again, if they write a Gambit character and they want to use him, and if Channing Tatum can fit that character, I'm down for it. I really did warm up to the idea as the years progressed and nothing happened, but I really did warm up to the idea, so it'll be interesting to see which way they go. Alan Gonzalez writes, do you like Tenacious D? I do. Look, I'm not going to pretend I'm a huge Tenacious D fan and I've got all their songs memorized, whatever, but yes, I do pop on a Tenacious D thing once in a while. Jack Black is a multifaceted guy. Suthius writes, hey guys, pre-order for Iron Studios Endgame, Iron Patriot, and Rocket Statue is up. It gives the best look at the armor for Rhodey in the final battle. You know what? More and more people, Suthius, have been pointing me towards Iron Studios stuff. They do the 1/10th scale. If I'm remembering correctly, they do the 1/10th scale stuff. And even Rob was starting to tell me, 1/10th scale, which I've always just wanted to get 1/6. But Rob was even telling me 1/10th scale is becoming more and more popular. So at some point, I might want to check that out myself. Let's see here. Okay. Where are we at? We're at Ace Infinity. And Ace Infinity writes, petition for John Campea to play a mutant whose mutation is superhuman breakdancing in the MCU reboot of X-Men. Let's make it happen. I'll tell you what, Ace. It ain't a mutant ability. It's just pure, raw, God-given talent. So not true. Damian Davies writes, the bride / Black Mamba / Beatrix Kiddo / Mommy versus John Wick. Who wins that fight? The bride was described as the deadliest woman in the world. True, I'll still take John Wick because John Wick is seen as a supernatural thing. He's the Baba Yaga. He's not even seen as being human. All that kind of stuff. So I'll usually take John Wick over anything you put out there. Anything short of Batman, I'll probably take John Wick in that fight. But that would be an interesting fight to watch on screen, Damien. That's a good kind of little fantasy makeup list there. I like that. KW Garrett writes, I know Felipe says any movie can be good, but I'd really like a sequel to Social Network, focusing on how Facebook has affected news, elections, privacy. The trouble there is that there's not widespread agreement on how has Facebook affected news and elections and privacy. I think there is possibility and some potential for a Facebook sequel, but just of it becoming the most powerful thing in the world when it comes to social media. And I think there's an interesting story there to tell. And I think the elements you bring up as well have some merit at the same time. Although there's not widespread agreement on it, but it could be interesting to see how they would explore that. KW, Sheepdog117 writes, which is more likely and which would you prefer? Disney making a live-action Hercules from the cartoon, or Marvel making a Hercules based off the comic? I would go for both. Of which do I think is more likely, and which would I'd rather see is actually the live-action. The Disney doing a live action of that Hercules thing. I'll tell you why. They've been on a bit of a streak. I really love their live action Cinderella. I love Jungle Book. I was really entertained by Aladdin. Beauty and the Beast was okay. But I really quite enjoyed Aladdin. Now Lion King's coming out. We got Mulan, which is sounding like it's going to be great. Who knows? It might be trash, but right now I think there's a lot to be encouraged about. So because they're on that little bit of a roll, I would like to see that. I think that's the one. So because they're on a roll with these things, and now that Marvel is getting all the X-Men stuff in too, that's going to push these other more fringe titles like a Hercules further down the pecking order. I think the one I'd like to see, and the one that is more likely, is probably the Hercules one. All right. Next up, Andrew Odette writes, inexperience equals less clout equals easier to control. I mean, you're not wrong. That's a very pessimistic way of looking at it, Andrew. But you're not wrong. Getting somebody in that position does make them easier to control. I mean, it's a pessimistic way of looking at it, but it's true. Son True Kong writes, just for mentioning RZA, the rapper. Oh, yeah, because the other day we were talking about RZA, which is the name R-I-Z-A, which is a character in Men in Black. And I said, not to be confused with RZA the rapper. One of my favorite interview experiences ever, not my top 1, 2, or 3, but up there, was when I got to sit down and talk with RZA, the rapper, about his movie Man with the Iron Fists. And that was a really fun interview, actually, that I got to do with him. We sat around for about 10 minutes before we started the interview. Really fun, interesting guy to talk to. And I enjoyed that one a lot. So thanks for that, son. Okay. Bobby Steven writes, what are your guys' thoughts on asylum films? You know what? Pure garbage, but sometimes garbage fun. And you know what? When I found a place for us to move our new AMC studio into, which was the place we were at for the longest time, it turns out we were right across the alley. Like, our building was right beside the building that was Asylum's building. We didn't know it was Asylum. And Asylum, a bunch of guys from Asylum came over as we were moving into our new studio and brought us a bunch of their DVDs and stuff like that and said, hey, we just wanted to welcome you here. We've been watching AMC Movie Talk for a while. We love your guys' show. And they brought us a bunch of DVDs, including a whole bunch of Sharknado DVDs. And they were really nice guys. It was really clever of them and very nice of them. And you know what? Of course, stupid movies they make, but sometimes pretty stupid fun. Anyway, XX Your Disease writes, thoughts on the comedy I Spy with Eddie Murphy and Owen Wilson. I personally enjoy it for its fun vibe and good chemistry between the leads. Overall, not all that good, but there are some pretty damn good laughs in it. What is the one line? Well, I'm not 007. I'm more like 008 and a half, if you know what I mean. There's some joke like... Anyway, it's a movie with moments. It's a movie, I gotta admit, overall, because even though I loved Eddie Murphy and I love Owen Wilson, not my favorite movie, to be honest with you, but it certainly does have its moments, Your Disease. It certainly does. Suthius writes, I'm intrigued with Ready or Not, horror comedy. I don't even know what that is to remember. Off the top of my head, I can't even remember what that is, to be honest. Scott Vosper writes, can Far From Home hype push Endgame over the Avatar edge? I don't think so, no. The people keep saying, oh, but the Captain Marvel thing. Yeah, but the Captain Marvel thing in Endgame is a reverse situation to what's going on here. So no, I don't think it will. Maybe it will. I think it'll get a bump. Will it get the bump that pushes it over the edge? I don't think so, but it's possible. Ivan Mendez writes, hey, Rob, I want the Hot Toys anonymous number. Unfortunately, Rob is not here right now, but I'm sure he would if he were here. Drew C. writes, do you watch The Orville? I do watch The Orville. It's a hit and miss show to me. I watch an episode and it'll be really freaking dumb, not funny, whatever. But then you watch the next episode and it's freaking hilarious and actually really clever. So it's good enough that I keep watching it. Again, for me, it's a little bit hit and miss, but when it hits, it's really quite enjoyable. Ryan Lohner writes, Lucifer Season 3 is starting to lose me. Oh, too bad. The show keeps expecting me to be obsessed with who's sleeping with who, and I just don't care. That's unfortunate. For me, I ate it up. For me, I ate it up. But again, Ryan, it's all subjective. If it's not working for you, that doesn't mean there's any problem with you. It just means it doesn't work for you. If it's not working for you, nothing wrong with that. Move on, find another show you like a little bit more. Certainly not every show is for everybody. I love Lucifer, but maybe it's not for you. No worries at all, my friend. Jesse Keller writes, when/do you think we'll ever get a Beatles biopic? My real ultimate answer is I don't care. I'm one of the few people I know that I'm not a big Beatles fan, and I personally think there are more important people in the world than musicians to make biopics about. Now, I'm saying that, but I love Bohemian Rhapsody, and I really like Rocket Man. But just in general, I think there are much more interesting, much more important people in the world other than the musicians to make biopics about. So I don't know. I got to imagine the life rights would be awfully expensive, though. J Meister 25 writes, "Oh, Lucasfilm, you silly B word." Yeah. But hey, listen, I am just going to try to wrap myself in the positivity of Robert Meyer Burnett on this. Again, I'm going to whine and bitch and moan and complain about this decision today. I think it's a bad move. I think that we've seen lots of these types of moves in the entertainment industry, in the sporting industry, in other industries all the while, and it very rarely, with some exceptions, but it very rarely works out. And I'm not feeling good about this, to be honest. I'm a Star Wars fan, but I am not feeling good about this move. But like I said, I feel about it one way, but what am I going to do about it? I'm going to get on board. I'm going to cheer for it. I'm going to hope it works. I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to give it an opportunity. Let's see it play out. It's going to really take a couple of years before we see what the ramifications are for this sort of a move. But what else can we do? So let's give it a chance. I think look, me saying I'm going to give it a chance does not change the fact that I think it was a bad decision. I think it was a bad move. You're giving somebody who's had one movie where they were actually had the reins in their hands as the true full producer. They've had one movie, and you're making them the head of the studio when it comes to live production. It's a bad move. It may work out, and I hope it works out, and I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt, but giving it the benefit of the doubt and being optimistic, choosing to be optimistic, does not change the fact that I think it was a bad move. And you know me, I'm a Star Wars guy, but I don't know what they're thinking. I just, quite frankly, straight up do not know what they're thinking. Anyway, you know what to put, writes John. One of the problems I had with Captain Marvel is because that's the company name, it sounds like a mascot, like Captain Microsoft or Captain Campea. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But that is not a movie issue. That predates to comic books. And does that feel a little silly? Oh, I agree. Yeah, absolutely, I agree. It does. But that's what it is before the movie ever came about. So it's not like they just created a movie and just decided to call it Captain Marvel. That's the name of the character. So I agree with you, but there wasn't much they could do about it. Black Wolf Inc. writes, any chance of you doing a top 50 superhero movies list sometime down the line? I want to know where you rank the Power Rangers movie now. I don't know that I would even include the Power Rangers on it. If I were to do a top 50 superhero movies, it would probably be based on comic books. Like characters based on comic books. So I probably wouldn't have Power Rangers in there. I probably wouldn't have The Incredibles in there. If I did a list like that, I would probably base superhero movies based on comic books is what I would probably do. And because of that, I wouldn't have the Power Rangers. By the way, I did not mind the latest Power Rangers movie. I was as pessimistic as anybody about it. I said this isn't going to work. It's a stupid idea. Now, sure enough, the movie flopped, but I remember I came out of the movie going, you want to know a secret? I kind of liked it. I thought it was I did. I don't think it was great, but I actually kind of liked the latest Power Rangers movie, which I never thought I would. But for that reason, Power Rangers wouldn't be on my list. Stephen Turner writes, did you see Boy George wants Sophie Turner to play him in his biopic, and she would love to? I love this. What's your thoughts? You think it could happen? No, I don't think it could happen. I don't think any producer is going to sign up for that. But, you know, again, I already kind of gave my opinion on what I think about biopics of musicians. I don't really care. They don't interest me all that much. I mean, even if, look, my all-time favorite band is U2, but if they announced a biopic of them tomorrow, I wouldn't be excited about it. I'd be intrigued because they're my favorite, but I'd be like, well, but I'm not really all that into musical biopics. And yet, I just loved Bohemian Rhapsody and I really like Rocketman. So I don't know what to say about that. I don't think it will ever happen. Hearing an actor say they would love a job is never a big news story to me because, of course, all actors would love a job, especially Sophie Turner right now because she's not getting the best buzz from X-Men and Game of Thrones is now done. So, I don't know. Let's put it this way. If they actually did do it, it would have my attention. Let's just say that. If they actually did do that and had Sophie Turner play Boy George, it would have my attention. Do I really want to see it, though? I'm indifferent to it, to be honest with you. Jonathan Joyner writes, number 1 of 2. Hey, John, listen to your show during my shift overnight, and I got to say I'm committed. Have you seen the trailer to The Boys coming out on Amazon yet? If so, are you interested? Because I am. You must have been late to the show today because we talked about that right off the top of the show. I love the trailer. I'm excited for this show. I think it just looks as gritty and as edgy and as explicit as the graphic novel is, because the graphic novel is pretty much all of those things. And I always wondered how much of that would they put into the show. This Red Band trailer seems to deliver on all those fronts. Who knows, maybe the show will suck, but I thought the trailer was great. And again, if you want to hear us talk a little bit more about it, go back to the beginning of the show. We talked about it a little bit more at length there, but I, Jonathan, think it looks great. All right, Doshi writes, release the Snyder Cut of Men in Black International. Well said, Doshi. Well said. Let's see. Jeff Mitchell sends in a super chat. Thank you so much, Jeff. Jonathan Joyner writes, second, just finished Chernobyl and man... that's the second part of his thing. Just finished Chernobyl and man, it was great. But this show would make your face palm... Let me see. But this show would make you face palm just how naive humanity can be. Almost... desensitizing in a way, but episode 4 hit a certain way, the one with the dogs. I mean, yeah, oh my God. You know, it was funny because last night, Jonathan, my wife Ann and a bunch of her friends from her dance class were over, and we were all talking about Chernobyl, and the thing is, Ann is a massive dog person. She loves dogs, like to the point that she almost will break into tears, like happy tears, when we go for a walk and we see other dogs. She almost cries. She loves, and I told her, said, honey, I'm not going to tell you why, but when you get to episode 4, you're going to have a hard time. You're going to have a hard time with episode 4. And she's like, why? I'm like, I can't tell you. I don't want to give it away. But maybe you and all your girlfriends here should watch it together and be a support group for each other because you're going to find it rough. It is rough. It's an amazing show, Jonathan, that gives you hope and disgust and astonishment. And it's just, oh, God, it's so well done, dude. It's so well done. Anyway, Rusky9110 writes, is Marvel Studios /TV unique in that they only make products from one IP, the Marvel Universe? And should they make products outside of comic material? I don't think they should make... No, they were created specifically to make movies based on their IP. That's why the studio was brought into existence. It was brought into existence specifically for the purpose of bringing this vast catalog of IP to the big screen. And it's not like they only have 5 characters. They have hundreds of characters to draw from. They have plenty to keep them busy. Even if they ever wanted to do something different, they shouldn't. They just have their plates full, and Disney would never let them because Disney's like, hey, listen, Marvel, we've got other studios to do other types of movies. You have one job. Make the best movies you can based on the IP catalog that you own. That's your job. You do that. And there's plenty for them to do. So no, I don't think they should do anything else. I think they should do what they specifically do. And there's a market for it. It's successful. It works. And they got plenty of source material to draw from. So I don't see any need or reason for them to make other types of movies because Disney has other studios to do that. They have Disney Studios proper. They have Lucasfilm. They have Pixar. They now have Fox. They've got plenty of other studios to make other types of films. Marvel should focus on Marvel. That's how I feel about it at any rate. Chris Smith writes, hey, John, real question. When discussing chemistry between 2 actors on screen, is chemistry a subjective opinion like determining the quality of film is? Yes, it absolutely is. Because you can watch 2 people interacting and either you can feel, you as an individual viewer watching that interaction, that chemistry, it either sparks and works for you and you really feel that dynamic between them, but another person can watch the exact same thing and maybe not feel that. Now, hopefully, if they do a really good job, more people will feel it, and there will always be some that don't. Yeah, absolutely. It's a completely, look, anything that you cannot quantifiably measure by empirical measurement becomes opinion. And anything that is opinion is subjective. If you cannot empirically, objectively measure something with empirical, non-subjective means, like a clock or a measuring stick or whatever, anything that cannot be quantifiably verified by empirical data becomes opinion. And everything that is opinion is subjective. So yeah, I absolutely believe that is also a part of this. Everything about movies is subjective. Other than runtime. Runtime can be measured with a stopwatch. Other than runtime, everything about the movies is subjective. Evan Tertainment writes, any chance of releasing the F. Gary Gray cut? Probably not. Not as long as that producer has final say on it. If he doesn't want that released, it ain't going to be released. And by the way, it's probably not all that different from the producer's cut because he changed the script on them, right? And they shot certain stuff. So it probably wouldn't be all that different, but I doubt it. Let's see. Krypton Caged writes, hey guys, another missed marketing for Netflix. Was just randomly browsing and found that Murder Mystery, that's the new Adam Sandler one. Murder Mystery Netflix is out now. I watched it and I absolutely loved it. It's hilarious. And the ending. You know, that's interesting because I think the movie looks terrible. I thought the movie looked absolutely terrible. So I don't have a lot of interest in it. But it is, again, yet another example of Netflix doing a really bad job of letting people know their stuff is there. And that's coming out. Now, I will say this for it. I've seen more marketing for Murder Mystery than almost anything else they've done. So I'll give them that. But yeah, they need to do a better job of that stuff, dude. All right. Giuliano Molina writes, hello, excellent work. This is something I don't get. Well, first of all, thank you, Giuliano. I appreciate that, dude. This is something I don't get. The AFI Life Achievement Awards, if you see the recipients, they are excellent actors, but I can't think in a reason why Robbie Williams didn't get one before the passing. Thoughts? I'll be honest with you, off the top of my head, I don't even know who Robbie Williams is. I can't even remember off the top of me for who Robbie Williams is. You talking about the singer-songwriter Robbie Williams? Are we talking about the singer-songwriter, or is there an actor, Robbie Williams, that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head? Oh, now I feel dumb, which isn't hard for me to do. I feel dumb very easily. That happens a lot. Let's see. I guess my question would be, why would Robbie Williams get an AFI Lifetime Achievement Award? Why Robbie Williams didn't get one, but unless there's another Robbie Williams I'm just not thinking of, guys. Do you guys, like, I'm looking over to the live chat board right now. There's a 30-second delay. Oh, wait a minute. You misspelled Robbie. I'm thinking you misspelled Robbie, R-O-B-B, because you're missing a B. Did you misspell Robin? Is that what you're talking about? Did you misspell Robin Williams? Because if it's Robin Williams, then I totally get what you mean. Then I totally get what you mean. If you're talking, I'm going to go on the assumption for a second that you're talking about Robin Williams. Okay, that would make more sense. Why didn't he get one until after he passed? Well, because he was still working in his career. He was still going. A lot of times Lifetime Achievement Awards are giving much later in the performers' lives and stuff like that. So as long as they gave him one, then I'm fine. And I don't even know for a fact that they gave him one. I'm going to think they did. But as long as they gave him one, I'm totally good with it. Like, a lot of time Lifetime Achievement Awards are given much, much later. So for that, I have no issue with that. If you are talking about the singer-songwriter Robbie Williams, and I don't know what it is we're talking about. If you're talking about Robin Williams, then then it's perfectly fine that they gave it posthumously, because he probably would have got, even if he didn't die, he probably would have got one. I just think it would have probably been a decade later or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, that's just my thought on that. It's a good question if we're talking about Robin Williams. All right. Black Wolf Inc. writes, thank you, John Campea, for the rant. Well, I mean, again, don't thank me. I don't feel good about it. I want to be optimistic about Star Wars. I want to, because I'm a fan. So my starting position is I want to be optimistic. But I'm not a blind fan. I don't bury my head in the sand. If I see something that I don't like, I will point it out. It doesn't matter if I got 1,000 Star Wars things behind me. That doesn't matter. If I see something I don't think is right, I'm going to point it out. And hiring a person to be your head of all live production who's only been in the actual producer's chair on one movie that hasn't even come out yet, I find that to be very questionable. I find that to be a questionable decision. I'm not gonna, just because I'm a Star Wars fan, I'm not gonna lie about it. I find that to be a very questionable decision. And like I said, all I can do is I hope it works out. I hope it works out, and I'm gonna be cheering for it to work out. But yeah, I think it was a questionable decision. Anyway, Doshi writes, love your rants, John. It's like listening to a WWE wrestler cutting a promo. Hashtag Stone Cold John Campea. Give me a hell yeah. John 316, actual Campea 316 says, I just whooped your ass. Anyway, again, I don't feel good about it. I want to cheer this thing. I want to cheer. Like, again, it's funny because the way I heard about this story was I first heard, hey, Lucasfilm just created a new position, senior vice president in charge of live action. And then I read the job description. It's like, cool, somebody who's actually going to shepherd all the live action stuff, kind of be the Kevin Feige character. Great. And then I read who it was. And I'm like, I've got nothing against this person whatsoever. I just went, so how many movies have they been the actual producer or executive producer on? One. And that's the person? There's no other men or women out there that had better qualifications than that? And again, I think Robert made a great case. I think Robert earlier in the show today made a great case about why we could feel enthusiastic about it. My issue is that the case he made was a great case for why she should be given the opportunity to be the head chair producer of a movie. And she was given it. She was given one so far. And one movie's enough experience? One movie where she was actually in the chair is enough to make her the head of the entire live action stuff that has to do with Star Wars? Really? And again, I'm going to choose tomorrow to be optimistic about this. I'm going to choose to cheer it on, and I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to give it a chance. And just get all my whining and bitching and crying that I do. I'm going to get all my whining and bitching out of the way today. I think it's a bad decision. But here, hey, sometimes bad decisions work out, right? It's true. Sometimes bad decisions work out. Here's hoping that's the case here. All right, where are we at here? We don't got a lot of time left here, guys. I'm going to try to get through the last number ones here. Cool Some XD writes, start a petition to get Michelle Rejwan removed. No. That's idiot. Look, she's there. She's been given the job. Clearly, they believe in her. It's done. It's done. I don't like the decision. I don't like that they got somebody who's only been a producer on one film. I don't like it, but it's done. All right? All we have left to do now is hope it works and cheer it on. That's all that's left for us. None of this and I know you give them the little winky eyes, I know, but I tell you what, there are going to be people out there that are going to seriously start a petition to change. Forget that. It's done. She's got the job. Now all we can do is hope she does a good job and hope that she proves the people who gave her the job right. And let's cheer for that. Let's hope that happens. Let's hope that's what works out. Again, I just don't feel good about the decision. Anyway, Light Runner 87 writes, I feel fans would complain less if more people actually knew how hard it is to make a film. After I started film school, I grew a lot more sympathetic. Oh my God, Light Runner. I mean, one of the reasons I made my own film was because I was a film pundit and I thought, you know what? If I make my own film, it'll give me a better appreciation for what it is these people all do. And it did, to an incredible degree. And I think Light Runner, what it would really help remove is that people, when they see a movie they don't like, go, oh, they didn't even care about making that movie. They didn't care about whether making a good movie. It's like, no, they always care. Believe me, they try. And they put in the best effort and they want to make a great movie, but it doesn't always work. Making a good movie is hard. And sometimes you even think you're making a great movie, and it's not until it's done that you go, wow, maybe it didn't work out the way we had hoped. Or maybe you think you've got a great movie and you're surprised to see that audiences didn't like it. I mean, they try though, and I think you're onto something. I think you're absolutely right there, Light Runner. Royce Freeman writes, do you think they will ever show us how Han Solo met Maz Kanata? No, and I don't care. I don't need to see how he met Maz. It's not important. Like, how he met Chewie, that's an iconic, legendary, decades-old yin-yang relationship. Han Solo and Chewbacca. I mean, that goes back. So seeing how they met is interesting. Seeing how he met Maz, I don't think they'll do it. I don't think there's any point in it. MZod780 writes, John, in regards to Game of Thrones, people seem to forget that good finale to an excellent TV series is the exception, not the rule. Oh no, it's true. Most of my favorite television series of all time have had finales that I've not really liked. Most of them have. Cheers, Seinfeld. I mean, some of the great shows. I'm not even all that big of a fan of the ending of... I'm not a big fan of the final episode of Battlestar Galactica. Even though I like what they did, I wasn't a big fan of it overall, and Battlestar Galactica is my all-time favorite show. I wasn't a big fan of the final episode of Sons of Anarchy, even though what happened in it is what had to happen. It just overall as an episode, I wasn't really thrilled with the episode. I'll tell you what, though, for me, I love the final episode of Game of Thrones. I thought the final episode of Game of Thrones was great, but that's just my opinion. All right, Doshi writes... John, you got to check out Screen Rant's pitch meetings. I have seen one or two of them, and I like the guy that does them. The guy that does them is really, really quite good. I gotta admit though, I feel a little dirty watching because there's this girl named Jenny Nichols, or is it Nicholson? Wait a second, is it Nichols or Nicholson? Hold on a second. Jenny, it's Nicholson. Sorry, I said Jenny Nichols. It's Jenny Nicholson. Who I participated in a Star Wars trivia match against once. And clearly I won. Anyway, I like this girl. And Screen Rant's pitch meetings is really a direct ripoff of these videos that Jenny Nichols was doing before Screen Rant did them. And I really do like the ones that Screen Rant does, and I love the guy that's doing them. I do. It's funny, but it is a complete ripoff of what Jenny Nichols was doing, or Jenny Nicholson was doing. She did this pitch meeting with Star Wars The Force Awakens, which is still to this day some of the funniest shit I've seen on YouTube. It's dynamic and great. And if you go back and watch, if you haven't seen Jenny Nicholson's stuff on that, go find her, watch the video she did, and you're like, oh my God, Screen Rant stuff is a complete ripoff of this, which is fine. I'm not condemning Screen Rant for that. Don't get me wrong. Don't misinterpret me here. I'm not condemning Screen Rant for that. Just because you do something doesn't mean you've copywritten that idea and only you can do that now. I'm not saying that. But when I do watch those ones on Screen Rant, I feel a little dirty because I know they just completely ripped this off from Jenny Nicholson. But whatever, they are pretty cute and they are pretty funny, and I do enjoy them, I must admit. All right, let's see. Last question of the day comes to us from Christopher. And Christopher writes, I trust Iger on the Michelle Rejwan move. I don't think he would have signed off on it if she wasn't a good fit. Iger has a great track record. I can tell you right now, I do not believe Bob Iger had anything to do with this decision. This is the type of decision that you let the head of Lucasfilm do, right? What Bob Iger would do is approve the creation of a new position, but then it's up to the head of Lucasfilm to hire that position. He's not going to interfere with that. Just like if Kevin Feige wanted to hire an executive producer under him, he would approve budgetarily and all that kind of stuff, the creation of the position, but he would leave that up to Kevin Feige to make that hire because it's their staff person. You know, the good boss, which Iger is, knows what things he needs to be involved in and which things he needs to let the people that work for him take care of and run. And I very, very highly doubt, highly doubt that Bob Iger micromanaged this thing and interfered with Kathleen Kennedy making her own staff hire. Of that, I really don't think Bob Iger would have interfered and got involved with. That's just not the type of thing that he should get involved with. I really don't think and he's not a micromanager, so I don't think he would have been involved in that. Maybe he did, I don't know, but because I agree, I completely trust Bob Iger, but I really don't think he had any anything to do with this, nor should he. He shouldn't have had anything to do with this. This is Kathleen Kennedy's department. This is her staff. This is her company she's the president of. She should have that say. And that's her decision to make. So that's just kind of, and I don't think Bob Iger, even if he hated the hire, I don't think Bob Iger would interfere. I don't think he would. So for all I know, Bob Iger loves the pick, though. For all I know, he loves the pick. For all I know, he hates the pick. I don't know. I just don't think he would interfere either way. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of the show today. I deeply appreciate it. Special thanks to Robert Meyer Burnett, who was here earlier. Of course, fact checker Jonathan for doing the movie news feed today. And a special thank you to you guys. Thank you to listening to me bitch and moan and complain about this new hire by Lucasfilm. I'll try to get over it. I really will. You know, how do I feel about it? I think it was a mistake. What am I going to do about it? I'm going to get on board with it. I'm going to get on board with it because that's all there is to do at this point. I can either just become, you know, drown in negativity over it, or I can go, okay, it's done. I don't like the decision, whatever, but it's done. So now let's just cheer it on and give it the benefit of the doubt until we play out. I still want to know what you guys think about that. Jump down in the comment section below and let me know what you think, because I am really curious to know what a lot of people think about this. And, we'll just see how that all kind of wraps out. So thank you guys for participating in the show today. Don't forget, we'll be back again tomorrow with a new episode of the John Campea Show. Make sure you guys come back and join us there as well. That'll do it for me for now, guys. Thank you so much for being here. My name is John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.